Okay. I'm going to call this Town of Andover Board of Selectmen meeting, or our regularly scheduled meeting for January 17th, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we're going to start with item 1, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We're going to move on to item 2, which is public speak. And we'll go in order. Diane Grenier.
Oh, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Okay, you know, sometimes I have problems with all these buttons.
You appear to be doing good.
Getting old is an adventure. Couple of things. One, I'd like to applaud Eric and Paula King for the video that they took of the new senior center / community room, showing us the progress and what it looks like and where we are today and the plans. And it's available on the town website, YouTube, I believe, and it was really good, and I appreciate that. I think others enjoyed it as well. The other video, of course, is the ride along with Zach Zito that Paula King did, showing us what it takes to be a snowplow guy. Very informative, lots of information there to learn what it takes to be a snowplow guy. You know, it's not an easy task, and a lot of coffee required. So I applaud that video as well. I think those are good, and I hope to see more of those sort of things in the future. The other one is I just want to shout out, give a friendly reminder about the stumps at the Townsend Cemetery. It just keeps going. We do have the finances in place for that to be done. The next step is the town has agreed, the town tree warden, Jay Tuttle, has agreed that the last sugar maple is 80% dead, and the town would take that tree down. Eric has told me that that is on the list. I hope that is on the list for early removal in the spring so that we can proceed with that project. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't fall off the list and that tree gets done. And the last thing, I know, Pocahontas here. I see.
No. I was laughing at your fall off the list. No, it will get taken care of, Diane.
Okay, fine. Thank you. And the last thing is, I just want to remind everybody. I did see it was Eric had. I think Eric had posted it on the webpage about the veterans ceremony to be held on Monday, honoring those that served in the Korean and Vietnam War. 4 o'clock at the school. Susan Bysowitz is going to be there, and I did check the town calendar, and it's not listed on the town calendar. And maybe we can have that put on the town calendar so that remind people about it. And that's about it. I applaud you all for all the work that you do.
All right, thank you. All right, Linda Fish.
All set.
Okay. Fabian T.
Hello.
Well,
What are we talking about the Joshua track now?
no, it's just public speak, so you can hold off. And so I'm assuming John Hankins is the same situation. Bill Penn, same situation.
Correct. Both Bill and I are here on behalf of Joshua's Trust.
All right, we'll get to that during the agenda. Elaine Buchart.
Hi. I did want to bring up the a situation that we have over at Community Voice Channel, the public access television station. We are losing our funding because our funding that we get is directly connected to cable subscriber fees. And since everyone's cutting the cord and not cable subscriber fee anymore, and instead getting their stuff from streaming, watching television streaming, using the internet, we have to get some laws changed immediately so that we don't have to close our doors. This has been ongoing for a couple of years that, we raised the flag and we're trying to get Pure to go ahead and straighten it out, but it keeps getting killed at the legislative level when it comes to laws being created to go ahead and fix the funding calculations so that we can continue to exist. And this was a federal mandate that there is public access television provided to the public and along with education on filming, making their own shows, own programs. And it's, it's a freedom of speech thing. And certainly I know we're being filmed right now for, community by community voice channel, and I'm going to be filming the veterans presentation that they have over at the school on Monday. And so Community Voice Channel has done a lot of work in trying to get people's communications out there in the world. So I will be reaching out to a lot of people directly and a lot of organizations to get some letters from people to send to the legislature to go ahead and let them know that this is a vital function, and we don't want to be closing the doors and not having anybody be able to do their own shows or do their town meetings or whatever, their high school sports programs and musical events and all of that. It's just not going to be done anymore if we run out of funding. So I just wanted to bring that up. It's like an alarm for us. The legislative session is a short one this year. We're working with a lot of the senators to try to get some new laws to straighten out the funding issue. But that's it. Just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Stephen? Okay, we'll move on. Joanne Ebert.
All set, thank you.
All right, did I miss anyone? Okay. Let's move on. I'm just going to ask Eric, the add and deletes is deleted because of special meeting?
Correct.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's move on to item 3, treasurer's report. Eric?
I don't have anything to talk about with the treasurer's report unless you have specific questions.
I don't have anything specific right now. Anybody, any of the other members? Okay, and two things before we get started. One is Paula King is going to be with us at about 7:30. So I know she has she's working. She's got an out of office appointment, so she's going to be joining us at 7:30. But I want to take Diane Grenier's point just aside, if everyone will let me. Not only was the information put up on Facebook, and I will be the first to admit that I am not a social media person. I don't deal with it. So if you ask me if I have a Facebook account, I personally don't. But I do want to tell you that I couldn't have been happier that Andover was presented positively in 2 articles in the last issue of the River East. And everybody understands the River East and what its value is, but I will tell you that one of the things I am so happy about the last Board of Selectmen and about this Board of Selectmen is we've never embarrassed the town. Not once have we embarrassed the town. And things like what Eric did and what Paula did are so positive and put us in such a positive light. I can't be happier. So I want to commend Eric and Paula when she gets on. I will let her know that personally, but I wanted to start that off. We as a board have been extremely professional, and the things that have gotten accomplished, I think, speak for themselves. But Yes, 2 positive articles. It couldn't have been a better week for Andover in the River East. So anyway, there we go. So treasurer's report. Anybody have any issues? All right, Eric, I will have some questions for you when I can access what I need to. There are some things that I need to talk to you about as far as information that we need to get resolved. And I will be with you probably tomorrow on that.
Sure.
Okay, board and commission presentations. We have the Garden Club budget request.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, you know what? Let me turn on the camera so you can see who's here. Let's see if it works. Sorry.
And I'm on the committee too, but I decided just to
Hi,
Okay.
Elaine.
hook
Hi,
on by
Elaine.
home.
I'm not sure what's going on with my camera. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, there we are.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Jeff Ballard, and Grace is here with me. And we would like to review our budget requests for the community garden.
Okay.
Did you people receive the paperwork that we gave you?
Yes. There you go. It's in our package.
Okay. We need a fence around the garden as soon as possible. The Board of Selectmen last year gave us $3,000, I think, out of a contingency fund to build the raised gardens. Our budget last year was cut from 25 to 1,500 because we were promised a roofing, gutter, and water collection, which never happened. We need the fence. Approximately 400 pounds of produce was turned over to the food pantry last year, and we had at least 30% crop damage from critters. And so we are requesting $2,400 for a fence to increase our food pantry produce donations. And that is something that we would like before the growing season, so that we have a chance to get it up and running. And for a budget, the request for 24 and 25 is $3,675, which includes the $1,000 for the roof and gutters that we didn't get last year. Andover Community Garden sign, the one that we had, is all rotten and went off to the transfer station. And bales of hay and 5 gallons of certified organic neem. It was all laid out on the pamphlet, on the package that you people received.
Okay. And this information, Eric, you have it ready to go into one of the line items, or we don't have a line item for the garden?
There is a line item for the community garden, but they're requesting money this year, right now. That's not
Yes.
budget.
Okay.
And that's
So-
not a me approval. But I would also say that I hesitate with the community garden and the construction going on right next door with the community center doing this right now. I have an issue with that. To me, that's not a great idea. And this
Okay.
is in pretty close proximity to the leach field, which also gives me a lot of pause with, jamming posts in the ground.
Okay, so understood, but this information is available for us. So that Jeff, if I understand this correctly, you're asking for money for this year that you don't have in the budget.
That is correct.
All right,
That's
that's
$2,400 for a 6-foot fence, 300 linear feet to go around the garden. And in the end of the request, we had asked that, let me see if I can find it here, that the Legion Field pipe be marked at the beginning and end of that pipe so that we could make sure that we're clear of the Legion Field when we construct the posts. And this would not, the fence would be installed the end of April, beginning of May, just before the growing season.
Okay, so let's put this on to next, since you're asking for the money for this year, plus you're providing us your budget request for next year. Let's put the 2020, the current issue on for next month, because I'm going to ask Eric some specific questions as to how it would potentially impact the community center and what's left to do on construction related to the community center. And then we can evaluate if we can find the money for the community garden group. Okay, so
Yes.
We do have the information. Eric, you have the information for next year's budget. The information for this year's request will address on next month's meeting. Unless
Yes,
a member
I
of
think we,
the
I
Board
think
of
we
Selectmen
covered-
has an issue. One second, Joe. Unless any other member of the Board of Selectmen has an issue.
Nope.
Okay, yeah, Jeff, what else?
I think that the Grace and I and the committee have put together everything, all the information necessary in the package that you received with
Yeah.
line items and costs and everything. I do have all the estimates for materials and for the fence if needed.
Okay. Let us put it on the next month agenda, and if the members need additional information, we'll communicate with you before the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. God. My phone. I keep thinking, where is my agenda? It's on my phone. Sorry. Item 5, Eric, appointments. Do we have anything?
There are no appointments. There is one resignation.
Go ahead, hit us with it.
So Kelly Wood, who was elected to the Board of Finance, is not able to fulfill that role. So it is being advertised right now in the paper. We put it on the town's website and social media. That will be up to the Board of Finance to fill that vacancy.
Okay. All right. Members of the Board of Selectmen, we should discuss that and sit there and see if there's any residents that we might want to make sure communicate with that role. So
Jeff, I've reached out to a few people who are interested, so we should have a few letters going in.
okay. All right. Okay. All right, item 7, Town Administrator's Report. Eric?
So I did not supply a written report. My apologies. I'm a bit busy at the moment. But I will give you a verbal report. First things first, you will have the budget in hand, close of business on January 23rd. I know I promised it to you on the 22nd. I hope you give me an extra day of grace period. So given that, what I would ask is that you give me a list of items you want to discuss at the first budget workshop, and that at this meeting, which is farther down in the agenda, we start scheduling the budget workshops, because you as a board have basically until March 1st to work on the budget before it gets turned over to the Board of Education. So you got about basically 5 weeks where it's in your hands. So that's kind of it for that. As far as the STIF account, this month we earned around $15,000 in interest on the money we have in the bank in the STIF account. So kudos to the treasurer for getting that set up. That's looks like it's going to net us a fair bit of money on the money that we have put aside. I do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with Tom Weldon, who's the bridge engineer doing the Bunker Hill Bridge project. We will probably be putting out an RFP fairly shortly for the bridge inspection services. And for some strange reason, you always do that first. Hire that contractor, and then we'll go out to RFP at some point later for the actual bridge construction firm. We're basically at the 90% construction. We should be on tap for next winter's construction season. So that's good. Work continues on the community center. That's going relatively smoothly. A few minor delays here or there, but nothing really significant. The town is working hard towards a deadline for a LoCIP grant, which is in the middle of February. That would be for the Route 316 connectivity effort. Myself and the engineer from Barton LaJudas, whose name is Kevin, have been meeting with all the affected landowners kind of one-on-one, and doing what we can to kind of personally tailor the path to address the current concerns of the individual landowners. The time frame's pretty tight. Hopefully we got a meeting scheduled. We're trying for early next week with DOT to get their comments, and it's a push, but we'll have a decent grant application in by that deadline.
How are the meetings going?
Reasonably well. I've been pleasantly surprised. I mean,
Wow.
a bunch of residents have concerns, which I would too if it was something that was going in front of my house, but we haven't hit anybody that was, absolutely opposed to it. So I consider that a good thing. And lastly, I had
If the members understand how Eric is, that's high praise, or that's fabulous news from the residents' perspective, because that's not normally how Eric would talk about those types of things. So pleasantly pleased means they went pretty well. So just letting everybody know that one. So
yeah, I mean, the really good news in this project is there's only around 6 homeowners that will really be directly affected by this. So we have the ability on this project to go out and meet with them all individually, and kind of understand. And we've given them all essentially a schematic of how it would look and how it would affect their property. So, we're trying to make up, and in truth, this is a project that would be right in the center of the town of Andover. So this is something we have to get right from an aesthetic perspective anyway. So, I think we can pull this off. I think, no guarantees, and we got to get it funded. So last I met with John Hankins and Public Works Supervisor Jay Tuttle regarding building the parking area. If the Board of Selectmen agrees to this project. We had a constructive meeting, trying to figure out where it would go and what the logistics are. If we do go ahead with it, we're going to have to make some decisions as to basically what the town's involvement in this would be and how improved we would want a parking lot, because it would be on town property if we did it. So we can have that discussion as part of that. And that's basically all I have, unless you have questions for me.
wow, I have 2. One is we got a significant amount of rain. Did we have any issues related to the rain from a town perspective?
Nothing major. I mean, we had little washouts and little issues, but we didn't lose any culverts. We haven't had any significant concerns. We have had the ball field did get flooded essentially twice in 1 week. Once,
Okay, so you're still
really
up.
badly.
Are you
once-
watching it or not?
Just a
Joanne-
little bit.
Joanne Ebert, can you put yourself on mute?
So, it's not that we've suffered no damage, but to put it in perspective, last year, as in 2002, there were 2 rain events during the year where the town got more than 2 inches of rain in one event. This year, we've had 13 rain events of 2 inches or greater. So we've just gotten hammered this year with really big rain events, and the town has held up fairly well. We've kept the catch basins clear. We've done a lot of work, a lot of shoulder work to address drainage issues. So we have a lot more to do, but overall, I think we've done okay with that.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I have 3 questions. One is because of the events that we've had, how has been tree damage?
We have done pretty well overall. I mean, compared to some of the other communities, we haven't suffered. We've definitely suffered some outages, no question. But we haven't had the whole scale damage, we've had in the past. And that's partly because we are trimming, we are cutting trees so aggressively in town. We've had, we didn't have distinctive in this year. We chose to do a lot more individual trees because we've gotten a lot of the really big pockets of dead ash and dead oak out. So that work continues. We've been pretty successful. We're not having the problems that a lot of our neighboring communities are having. On the other hand, I expressed a lot of unhappiness with Eversource several storms ago because we did have a tree come down on a driveway that was on Route 316 that took down the power lines, and the power line was on the ground actively burning, for 9 hours before the utility company showed up to even shut it off. And that's really unacceptable. That's absurd. So I put in a formal, complaint about that.
And to dovetail on the trees, and I apologize, I only got one last one. The trail, I know that there was a significant, what I'm after from you was a comparison of how the trees in town falling and damaging and having to be removed on the town roads are versus what you had to do on the trails.
So the trails have had a lot more issues than the town roads, on a mile per mile basis. The state has not done a great job of removing the dead ash on the trail. So every time we have a rain event, there is a fair amount of deadfall on the trail that needs to be cut up. Sometimes that's Public Works if we have time, and sometimes that's DEP, but that is an ongoing problem, and DEP really needs to start doing the same thing, which is systematically removing the dead trees on the side of the Hop River Rail Trail.
So we can sit there and take this as the town's program of removing its dead trees and spending additional funds on tree cutting has been successful.
Yeah, I think it's made a huge difference. I think that's one thing we've done very well in the last, 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Because I forgot my last question. I know it's out there and I'll get it to some point in time to Eric, but anybody else?
They're trimming trees out in Chaplin and Hampton along the rail trail out there, Eric. I saw like a 10-foot swath on either side of it going out. That all the trees are knocked down, hundreds and, probably thousands.
Who is doing it?
I'm not sure. I didn't see anybody doing it. I just saw the aftermath. They're all piled up.
Okay.
So on the trail, Scott?
Yeah, they're piled up on the sides.
Side of the roads?
No, the sides of the trails.
Side of the trail. Okay. All right.
Somebody's doing it.
We should find that out in case Chaplin had a way to get to DEP and get them to do something positive for the trail. We should ask for that to happen for us. Okay. Anybody else? Jeff, Ann? No? Okay. All right, Eric, thank you.
Yep.
We're gonna move on to old business, so we're gonna get into our Joshua Trust discussion. So, Eric, what do we, where are we at and what do we wanna, have brought in front of the board?
So at the last meeting, you had asked that the town notify all the abutters to the proposed trail via a letter, which we did send out. And I think probably Jeff Murray, you probably got a copy of that, I would assume. So we did send them out to all the residents. The only thing that was unfortunate is we did change the date for the Board of Selectmen meeting. Which was not what was in the original letter. Subsequent to that, and in your packet, there are a series of letters from the Conservation Commission and other homeowners. Mostly positive. There are, and I believe he's here today to talk to you directly. Thomas Fabian did write a letter with a whole series of questions. There was a response posted from the president of Joshua's Trust, John Hankins, but I think he probably wants to address the commission or the Board of Selectmen himself. And that's it for my part. I said we already had discussed with Public Works, building the, building the parking area. The Public Works foreman does have a little bit of concern about making sure that whatever we put in there doesn't impact the existing drainage that's on the side of the road. But at the same time, that area is scheduled for pretty extensive drainage work this season anyway. So I think we could probably do that as part of all the other drainage work we're planning on doing there. So that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
Well, I would like to know how the meeting went between you and Jay over the parking lot and what your plans were and are going to be.
So the question is just, remember, Jay is a perfectionist. Jay would spend a month building that parking lot. Basically tear out everything that's there, excavate it down 18 inches, bring in all new fill from the pit to gravel, and then, get process on top from point. I don't think we can practically spend that much time and energy on that, nor do I necessarily think it's appropriate for a lot that's basically a trailhead, for a low impact trail. So I think we'll have to trim down his desires on how much he would want to do to address that. We also spent a bunch of time looking at the property and figuring out how we can get equipment back in there to remove all of the junk that's on the town's property. Because as you remember, there's a ton of tires, a ton of rusted metal, some cans, and a bunch of other junk on there. But in truth, it's town property and, it's conservation land, so we should be doing that anyway. So this kind of will spur us to be doing that. It does look like there's the old path that goes in there that would be fairly easily accessible, maybe not to a loader, but certainly to the smaller equipment to go in and remove the tires and other junk that are there.
So what was Jay's plan going to be and what was the cost going to be?
He has not given me a cost yet. What we were talking about doing is essentially just charging Joshua's Trust for materials and charging the cost for the labor, and then just using our equipment to do the work.
With the brush to open it up, what are you going to do? Chip it all?
Yeah, so that's an open question, what the best way to do that is, but Jay feels that the easiest way to do it is just, use the excavator with the thumb and just basically grab the brush and then feed it all into the chipper and chip it all up. And that's how he would approach it.
And Eric, the plan would be to clear right to the roadway, so it would have an open sight line to the parking lot, so it wouldn't be hidden in the back.
Yeah, I think when we're done, it would be visible from the road, so it wouldn't be a hidden lot for sure.
Yeah, I just don't want to have it hidden, because people would park back in there and, for other activities. So,
Yep.
I would say the width of the lot should be the width at the road also. So that you can see straight into it. Not a parking lot, just with a one car driveway going into it or something. I would like to see the same thing that Jeff Murray's talking about.
I'm not sure I quite understand what you're asking.
So that when you come down the road, you can see the whole parking lot. Not a hidden parking lot.
yeah, so it's not obscured by brush or trees.
Yeah, that could definitely be accommodated there. And we're not talking about a big lot. We're talking about probably a lot for 4 cars. So, roughly a 40 by 40 lot with a drive in. So you drive straight in and you essentially hang a right turn, park, and then you back straight up and then you're out on the road. Well, so you're pulling forward when you're leaving the property. I mean, I can certainly get you more details before we agree to go ahead, and get you a more fleshed out plan for a parking area, if you want to see that before we proceeded.
Yeah, I would like to see the cost too and make sure that's acceptable to Joshua's Trust before we ever moved ahead with this. That would have to be settled too, to make sure that those costs are acceptable.
Understood, okay.
I just wouldn't want to get all the buy-in from the residents and the neighbors and then go ahead and come up with a huge price of the parking lot and have Joshua's Trust balk at that. It's just, we need to make sure that price is agreeable before we move ahead on something like this.
Jeff, to some extent, that's kind of up to the Board of Selectmen. And by that, I mean, what is acceptable to you as a parking area? Because clearly what I have in my head and what Jay has in his head, for improvements to a parking lot are very different. He would opt to do something like Lake Road, which took an enormous amount of brush cutting, an enormous amount of fill, and an awful lot of process. And I would do something, I would leave the brush on site. I wouldn't go removing all the brush. I wouldn't go necessarily stripping all the topsoil. I would just pile it up on the end, and put a minimal amount of gravel in and go. Because I think given the usage of this, you don't need something more. But part of the question is going to be, because the town is the property owner of this, what you as a board want to see. Do you want to see a full-blown, beautifully manicured parking area? Or do you want to see a rough and dirty parking area that accommodates the usage but isn't fancy? So I'll get you a cost basis on it, but you're going to have to decide among yourselves what it is you want there before that can happen.
It's going to depend on what's there when he opens it up. What's he going to see? Is there a high water table? Is it dry? What's the ground situation? What is going to determine what he's going to do there, I would say. Like you're saying, Eric, some places you could go in, you could chip the brush right into the parking lot and park on top of it. You might be able to do that here. You might not be able to.
But aren't we just talking 3 to 4 parking spaces?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not talking what you're doing at Lake Road. You're talking 25% of Lake Road, if that.
Right.
Yeah, but there's another issue. Coventry just acquired a piece down along the Skunkamug River. I believe it's on South River Road, and they opened up a small parking lot. But if you go drive by there now, it's completely rutted. It's a muddy mess. So we just want to make sure that, it's compacted and we have enough It's far
I-
enough that we don't have that issue, you know?
I'm with you. I'm with you, Jeff. I think we should do it like Lake Road was done. But we're talking 25% of the space and the square footage.
Yeah, we
So
just need to come up with something that's acceptable that Joshua's Trust would be willing to pay for, and something that we would find that would be suitable. And I think that we need to have that discussion too before this is green lit, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
that's fine. We should do that. And then the other issue is all of the comments and the responses from Joshua Trust, they were provided to all the residents directly.
The only person that responded in writing that looked like they wanted had questions to answer was
Jody Gross, let's go. Did he get his response?
he did get a response from John Hankins.
Okay, that's all I needed. I mean,
Yes,
if Jody
but
wants
he's here. He can certainly speak for himself and express his own concerns.
Hello, does that mean I'm up?
Sure, why not?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for listening to me. I did get John Hankins' memorandum. Honestly, it's basically a whitewash. But let me start by saying I'm not opposed to trails next door to me. I'm opposed to the misuse of those trails. There is a history of motor vehicles in those woods. That I've had ATVs barrel through my yard while I'm entertaining guests, and that stopped when I put the fence up. I see motorbikes and ATVs on this unlicensed ones up and down the street. Where they come from, where they go to, I have no idea. And you're talking about putting a parking lot out in front of a trailhead, and I'm thinking that's an open invitation for these people who are coming up and down the street to enter those trails. I further think that some of the misuse of those trails may well come from the abutting homeowners, their kids and or kids' friends. My issue is, and perhaps John Hankins is right that it's not really a problem. Maybe Eric is right. This won't become a problem. But what if it does? Who's responsible for dealing with it? Do I get to be the policeman here and make the call whenever there's somebody out in the woods, or am I just supposed to ignore the goings on?
Well, if you ask, if you keep going, Mr. Fabian. Go ahead.
And I'm not the only, I don't know if this, I don't know this person, but I see one other house that is exposed to this trail. I don't know if that person is here or even responded, but I'm not the only homeowner that would be impacted by this. Now I see that, and I listen and I hear, sound like this got the green light. I mean, I don't see it not happening, but there's no plan here for any kind of surveillance. There's no suggestion on how there might be a way to stop misuse of the trails. So I'm asking the board, how can I be protected from having listening to these motorbikes cruise up and down through the woods?
Are you asking us to answer that, or do you want to keep going?
No, well, let's say that's a rhetorical question. I don't have much further to go. I'm just trying to express, I won't call it an objection, because again, I'm not opposed to having trails there. I'm opposed to the misuse of those trails. And I see, or I'm not hearing, how that could be prevented.
Okay.
I would like that to be in the plan.
Okay, so one thing for you, we have not approved the trails as of yet.
So I
So
understand that you have not formally approved them. Thank you.
no, but we have sat there and walked through the property and are trying to understand and do what is best for the town and potentially make use of that. And we have to take your concerns into account, and we have to sit there and do the best job that we can to get you answers on that. You know as well as we do, we can't stop everything, but this board is going to work the best we can to mitigate your concerns and to sit there and do, if we do this, if this does get approved and get done, we're going to try to do it in the best possible way. And we're going to sit there and work with Joshua Trust to make this work for everybody. So not just for you as an abutting resident and not have it be impactful to you, but to make it a positive for other residents who want to get out there and walk in the trails that would be built by Joshua Trust. So we have not approved it, and the reason why we communicated with you is to make sure that we take your concerns and work on them. So, and then I'll let the Joshua Trust folks speak, because I know they want to
say a few things, Jeff, if I can.
Sure.
Yeah, and Mr. Fabian, I can certainly see your point, and I have not been a green light on this, and I've told the people from Joshua's Trust that I would not support this unless all the abutting neighbors were in support of it. So unless these trails or this issue, the reroute that you had discussed, was rectified to your satisfaction, I would not be in support of the trail system. So I don't want to do anything that's going to impact anybody's enjoyment of their property. So we need to make sure that everybody is satisfied to the plan and is going to be happy with what happens. So from my point of view, this is definitely not green lighted at this point.
Well, thank you for saying that. Whether it's green lighted or not, again, I'm not opposed to the trail. I think that it could be a benefit. In fact, I even think that it would enhance my property values. It's what happens when things go wrong, and things do go wrong. So that's where my concern lies. Not whether there's going to be a nice parking lot or it's a benefit to the community. I agree with all that stuff. It's just what happens when things go wrong.
Yep. And as a board, we can create the trails, and if it becomes a problem, we can shut those trails down.
Well, that's going to be harder to do. How do you take it away from somebody?
Well, and I have the same issues that you have with dirt bikes coming up and down the street, and I don't have an answer for you. I wished I did. But it seems to be kind of an issue all over town. So
yeah, right.
And they're hard to catch. They run off in the woods and they're hard to catch.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you.
Eric, I have a question. Was there any thought put into putting the parking lot up at the other end on Wheeling?
And make it a through trail?
Well, just,
Scott, we discussed 2 years ago, we weren't going to make this a through trail, and we weren't in support of that. And my reasoning for that is because all those trails on the other side of Wheeling Road are all multi-use trails with horses, mountain bikes, and hikers.
Yeah.
And if this is going to be a pedestrian-only loop, we should keep those two segregated so we don't have any cross traffic going between the two systems.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's the answer to
that. John, you wanted to make some comments?
Yeah, and the ATV comment, we do hear that. Absolutely. And I will say we operate trails on 40 properties in Northeast Connecticut, and ATVs are not a big issue for us. It does happen, obviously, occasionally, but we've been well, first of all, we don't see a lot of ATV use for a few reasons. The trails that we build on our properties aren't great for ATVs. They're rocky, they're narrow. There are things that we can install to limit ATV access as well, such as coming out of the parking lot, for instance, making sure that the exit out of the parking lot is narrow enough so that an ATV can't get through there. Can they find a way around? Perhaps, but we've got one advantage on this property is there's only one way in and one way out, unless they find a way to go across private property. There's no readily apparent way to do that. So it's not, if people go in there, it's likely that there's a fair likelihood that they're going to get caught eventually. You asked about the role of neighbors. Joshua's Trust likes to know our neighbors, and I think, Mr. Fabian, we've met you out there in your backyard at some point. What we tell all of our neighbors is, if there's an issue, give us a call. We understand the police can't respond to everything, but if there's an issue, give us a call. What we've done on other sites, the few times we've seen ATVs, is I think you mentioned they might be neighbors coming in from somewhere. Well, this is what I've done. I've followed the ATV tracks out to the neighbor's house, and I've knocked on the door and had a little discussion with them, and that takes care of it if we are able to find the right house. In other cases, we put up game cameras, identified the individual, knocked on a few neighbors' doors, and very quickly figured out who it was, gone to their house and had a discussion, took care of it. Those are unusual cases, but when they have occurred, we've been able to address it. And right now on our 40 properties, I can't point to a single property we've got where ATVs are an ongoing issue.
Are you referring to ATVs as the quads or the motorbikes, or both?
The motorbikes can be more of a challenge in that they can find their way through narrower spots, but it's the same principle.
Well, if you're that proactive about it, I feel better. I see it becoming less of a problem if Joshua Track has that proactive stance with regard to the misuse.
I'll also say this: Andover has a track record with policing ATVs. Look at your rail trail. That used to be ATV superhighway, and it was a real problem. Now that there's a fair amount of use on that trail, ATV use is limited to, there's almost none. And if they're out there, it's in the middle of the night. But you don't see ATVs on that trail in the middle of the day anymore.
Fair enough.
One thing I did want to correct you on, John, is they can't get access through town property off of Wheeling Road. And that was my reason for not putting that trail in and not putting a parking lot there, because I do not want to have motorized access or any kind of equestrian access to this trail loop. It should be pedestrian only, closed loop, no other access outside of that. So, that's why I would strongly be against that connector trail that we actually talked about preliminarily connecting to Wheeling.
Yeah, and what you just described is the plan, that right now there's no connection.
Yep.
And if I can add something,
Sure.
when I walked that trail with the other members, I can't imagine any motorbike getting through that. It's just a walking trail, because you got to be climbing over rocks and climbing around things. And I can't imagine a motorized bike getting through there on the trail that you're proposing to be made.
They can, they can if they want to.
Yeah,
And then there's
a history of use. When I came here, that 25 years ago, they were loaded with motorbikes and quads up there because there was more access. Now the access is overgrown, the fence is up. I'm thinking once the access is recreated, it may become a problem again.
Well, one thing, and this is what I'm going to agree with John about, is when you create these trails and you have recreational walkers and hikers on these trails, that usually keeps the ATVs off, because they want to go places where there's not a lot of that activity with people yelling at them and scaring them off. So when you have the rail trail is a perfect example. Now that we have people parking and riding bikes on the rail trail, the ATVs just don't use it because it's not something, they don't want to deal with the people yelling at them and the hassle. So it's the trail is, if it's established and people do use it, the ATVs will not go out there. But we just got to keep getting in there.
And I did want to point one other item out on the call. You might see Bill Penn. Bill is an Andover resident. He is the newest board member of Joshua's Trust, so you have representation on our board now. And he is also going to serve as the steward for this property. And there he is. So there is someone local that would be looking at this and being on the site as often as necessary to enforce things.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is that like every trailhead we have, there will be some litter. You know, whether you're talking about Burnett Brook or Lake Road or the Andover Athletic Fields or Center Street, um, you know, there is going to be some trash that needs to be dealt with. I mean, we deal with it on most of the other town properties. It's an unfortunate reality today that a certain fraction of the population doesn't think anything of throwing what's left of their lunch or a couple of nips out their window. You know, that you can't prevent. You know, I don't live all that far from this trail. In fact, if it was extended out to Wheeling, I would certainly be in the butter. You know, and I have had problems in the past with ATVs and motorbikes behind my house, also on the old logging trail that was back there. It annoyed me, you know, we yelled at them enough, you know, and they stopped. And, you know, periodically I go cut down people's, you know, hunting stands that are on my property that have no business being there. It is an unfortunate reality. You know, the one thing I would say about Joshua's Trust is they seem to do a pretty good job of policing their properties and inspecting them. Far better, I would admit, than the town does on its own properties. You know, that's just a reality of they have more manpower than we have to do that. So I think while issues aren't out of the question, I think we can mitigate that. I would certainly hope so. Because I don't want any more motorcycles and ATVs behind my house that I have to deal with either. So I do get that point, certainly.
I have one more question for John and Tom. I know, Tom, you'd questioned that one section of trail that went down behind your property, and I saw something in the packet about a reroute.
Yes.
Is that something that Joshua's Trust was amendable to, or has that been discussed between the two of you, or?
We have not discussed it, but John seemed to think that a realignment could be done. And I think it would make the trail more walkable, because the way it is now, it leads near to a cliff. I think there's an easier way to get around it, and I wouldn't have people at eye level with my bedroom window.
Yeah, it's very typical for us to work with landowners. If there's something easy we can do to remedy it, and I think here there is.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there any possibility that the two of you could get together and work up a plan that Tom would be acceptable to?
Absolutely.
Yeah, John, I'm here most times, so next time you're in the neighborhood, just stop in.
All right.
Okay, obviously, we're gonna have to push a decision on this off till next meeting. And we'll get it done next meeting, if that's acceptable to everybody.
Yeah, I think the two caveats would be the parking lot estimate and just a response from John and Joshua's Trust to see if that's acceptable. And if Tom could send the selectman an email after he meets with John with the outcome, and if he's acceptable to that and supports the trail at that point, then we can move ahead.
Okay. And I will tell you, Joshua's Trust did put it into their response that they would sit there and work with Mr. Fabian on the property.
They did.
They did. Yeah. Okay.
So again, my question for the board is, what specs are you looking for? What level of finish are you looking for in the parking area?
Well, let's agree on the number of spots. So Joshua's Trust, how many spots do you think are needed at that spot?
We like to see 4 to 6, something like that.
Okay, 4 to 6. So let's go 4 to make it smaller, right?
I kind of disagree. I think we should probably go on the bigger side, make it 6. We're still gonna have to make room to turn around and get in and out. I mean, if there's two people that meet to go walking with their dogs, I mean, you're talking two cars right there. So if we're talking 6 cars, you might have 3 pairs of people out there walking at one time. They
Okay,
might not everybody come in the same vehicle. So
I'm not stuck on 4. So
Yeah.
6 is fine.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a problem with the number of spots? And, oh.
6 is
Can we
good.
Paula,
Get a
thank you.
diagram? Can we get a diagram of how that lot is gonna be positioned compared to the street? To see how it is. Is it gonna be completely open like the one on Lake Street, or is it gonna have a driveway going in? Can we get a map of that or a drawing of that?
You can get whatever you want.
I mean,
But
Eric,
again,
aren't you
what do
just
you
coming-
want?
Aren't
for
you just
material?
coming right off the road and it's 6 spots off the road? Isn't that the
Yes.
easiest thing for you to
You're
do?
gonna come in off the road, you're gonna take a right-hand turn and you're gonna park.
You're
And
gonna,
you're gonna have 4 to 6 spots lined up. So you drive in, take a right into the spot, and then you're gonna back out in the other direction and drive out the road.
okay, and if we wanted to make this less accessible for an ATV, not necessarily a dirt bike, because you're not going to be able to, but we could put a fence similar to what we have down at the and I know this is money, so but a fence similar to what we have down at the ball field to sit there and block off the parking lot. I know Eric is looking at that's money, and I know what it is, but we could do something like that to sit there and limit access if we needed to. So that should be the consideration, is some type of space that is, it could be rocks, Eric, it could be anything we have. But I would sit there and say it needs to be similar to what you've done at Lake Road. That looks great. I mean, and it does create a significant amount of access to the community to be able to get onto the rail trail. So if we did it there and we did it, reasonably, we were very cost conservative on that. We did it right, but it's done well. That's what you should try to do at this place, at this location, if we're going to do this. So that's what I would ask to have happen, but other board members, and I'm sorry, I wanted to welcome Paula King to our call. You can see by the black box down there, or rectangle, that she's also doing a drive along with us right now. So
Yeah.
Paula, thank you for joining us. So anyway, that's what I would ask, is that Eric, that you do it in similar manner to the Lake Road access. And give us the costs related to that. And so then we can decide what we need to do related to Joshua's Trust and what we need to do as a town. So.
Yeah, and boulders are fine. Something similar like Mansfield Hollow parking lot, something like that, lined with a boulder so ATVs couldn't ride through there, just spaced together.
There's plenty of boulders over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can do that.
Be
We can
careful
pull all
about
the
what
wrecked
trees you
cars
cut.
out of the woods and line it with wrecked cars if you want, make it historic.
Yeah, that's good. We're trying to move on, Eric. So does anybody else have any issues that they want Eric to address as he does this? No. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and we will eventually get this done, or not, but we'll eventually get to an answer. So
We just want to do it right. That's all. So.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So if we move on, now we're moving on to 8B Community Center Construction Update.
So construction's going reasonably well. We're on hold for a couple things that should be addressed fairly quickly, hopefully, which is getting the design for the fire alarm system for the building. And then we're waiting on BSC or BCS engineering to do the stakeout of the septic system, because that's a requirement of Eastern Highlands Health District before the contractor gets in there to put in the additional piping for the septic system. So those things are ongoing. No serious delays in the project, moving along reasonably well, all things considered.
Okay. Any questions from any of the members on the community center? All right, it looks good, Eric. 8C, signs at Veterans Memorial Field.
Hold on, before we do that,
Got to do
Your
that
packet
construction order.
is a change order request. If you remember, the initial contract was the base bid that they provided us. And then the group that was looking at this came back to them with a series of revisions to that they wanted to see incorporated. And we started construction having signed for only the base bid. So this is a change request that includes everything that we did that was not included in the base bid. So obviously, I'm not signing that until you all as a group agree to that change order.
And Scott and Jeff, but I'll go Scott, this is appropriate numbers as far as you're concerned related to committee.
Yep. Yeah, I've looked at it all over. Me and Eric have had many meetings over this with the construction people, and most of the stuff has already been worked into the number.
Okay.
Good.
Eric
could just sign it.
So do you just want to make a motion on that?
Yeah. I motion to have Eric sign the construction change order.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. 5-0. Paula voted in favor. So, all right, now we're moving on to 8C, signs at Veterans Memorial Field.
So
I'll talk about that, Eric, okay? The Planning and Zoning Commission approved that. They approved it just for the ball field chain link fence for 32 square feet. Banners only. So quick line in the new changes and it's approved. But no, it's specific to that.
Okay, so 4x8.
Yep. Or whatever you want. It's 32 square feet.
So
Banner could be 10 by, whatever.
So now we need to sit there and see what if anything we can do to organize that and to make it a way to fund some recreation programs. So that step
Right.
1 is done. We'll sit there and work on the other part of it. So,
right.
Okay.
And then the only thing I think we have to be a little careful with when we do that is remember that whole back wall is in the floodway. And the pressure of the water keeps busting the chain link fence out. So I'm a little concerned that we need to keep the signs up as high as we can on the fence, and maybe we don't. It's a 5-foot high chain link fence. I'd want to leave at least 2 feet for the water, So ideally, I wouldn't want to see signs more than about 3 feet high. That would be my preference to decrease the likelihood of damage in a flood event.
You just put them at the top of the fence.
Okay, we'll sit there and we have to come up with a whole outline and a whole plan as to what we're going to try to do.
And
that will come back to the board, this board, and get approved before we
and
do.
who we will allow to have their signs up there.
Yeah, we just and I wouldn't sit there and say it exactly like that, Scott, but what we need to do is we need to sit there and set parameters for what is what is acceptable as we go out and try to solicit a way to fundraise. So
Exactly.
Understood. Okay. 8D, dog signs and pet waste containers.
Yep.
And this is related to the field. So, Scott, do you want to talk? Are we still
Yeah,
getting?
I would be in favor of all of that, all the above, more signs and to have the dog waste containers put up.
So I took a walk down there the other day and took a look at this, and I'm supportive of the dog waste containers and bags on the dike side to the right of where the new pickleball courts are gonna go down to the river. But I still think we should put signs up for no dogs on the field. I think putting the waste containers and things down the ball field is gonna be an invitation to say it's okay to bring your dog down there. So, I mean, somebody, you can walk your dog on that, on the dike and, you know, walk down to the river and that's fine, but stay off the ball fields.
But remember that dike is gonna be a playground not too long
Yep,
from now.
eventually, but for in the interim, I mean, that's probably a year or two out, I would assume at this point.
Okay, so that's something that we're, Scott, I understand what you're saying, the signs and the containers, but I'm like, if you're gonna put a sign saying don't walk your dog, you don't give them an opportunity to have a bag. They don't care, so then it comes into what we're doing now, what the town attorney was doing with Eric now with a hearing officer.
Right.
Because now we need to sit there and once we have the hearing officer, talk about for the blight side, that we would need to put in ordinance, and I realized we'd have to put in an ordinance about dogs at the field and the problems that were occurring there, but
Willimantic has an
All in
ordinance
stages.
and fines.
yeah, it's all in stages, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm in favor of the sign to keep the dogs off the field and have waste containers. I don't have any problem with the dogs walking down there at all.
Right, and
Along
what
the-
I'm telling you is I'm okay with the signs and not the waste containers. That's me personally, because I look at it as you put the waste containers down there, you're just telling them to walk their dogs
Yeah.
and poop on the field.
Right, but if you don't put them down there, Jeff, you're gonna have, and you can go down and see it in the parking lot. They leave their bags of dog poop in the parking lot. So,
And a lot of people bring their dogs down to swim in the river too, so I'm just,
right, so you're
I
not
mean,
gonna
that's,
get away
that
from.
section to allow dogs down to the Hop River and that area is, I'm fine with it, but just keep them off the field.
Keep them off the field. And to put the containers down there, Jeff, because it's not gonna stop.
But how do you keep them off the field?
Put signs up there to Eric, more signs.
Well, we're gonna have a
There's
public
already,
meeting, aren't
you
we?
can't
So-
go in there without seeing a sign, no dogs, and everybody's ignoring it.
Eric,
So if
I
you're gonna ignore one sign, are you gonna ignore 2 signs or 10 signs?
maybe I watched a guy walk past the sign and I took a picture of him
Right?
with his dog. So I'm
That's
saying put some more signs up so he whoever these people are going out to the field, they see the signs. There's only a couple of signs there.
Okay.
You need more signs.
So we have a special
Here.
meeting coming up. Why don't we just add it as a minor ordinance? We'll have Dennis draft it and we can propose it at the next special meeting, town meeting.
make it a $10,000 fine. Give half to the resident state trooper for everybody he catches. He'll be happy.
$100 with
$100.
escalating fees.
I think that's what it is in Wyndham.
If it's one time,
$100.
it's $100, and if it's 2 times, it's $200, and if it's 3 times, it's $300. So
That's not enough to stop it. $100 isn't enough of a fine to change behavior. It's just like speeding. If you're gonna do it, the fine needs to be great enough that it hurts. $100 doesn't hurt.
and
All right, so let's be clear about this before, so we don't have to have another meeting about that. We're gonna get waste containers.
Make
And
a-
we're gonna get signs that say no dogs on the field, right? A few more signs and waste containers.
Well, how many more signs do you want?
A couple more at least, Eric. Couple
2,
more,
yeah, a couple is 2.
So you want 5 signs? There's 3 signs now. You want a total of 5 signs.
I want them, there's areas in there where people can say, I didn't see the sign.
Yeah.
You put them, a
Hey,
couple
can
more
you make-
down there.
Scott, can you make the motion so that we can all vote on this? Two signs and 2 waste containers.
Okay,
That
I
good?
motion
Yeah.
to have 2 signs telling the dog owners they can't go on the fields any longer, and to have 2 waste containers put down there for dog waste.
I'll second.
Okay, all
Any
those,
discussion?
yeah, any discussion?
So where the waste container is going to be located? They're going to be located where the old shed was?
Yeah, down where you suggested, Mr.
Yeah, the
Murray.
concession. All right. Do we need two or just one? Do you think one's enough right there, that parking area?
Well, put one over by the big parking lot over by the river.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if you do that, then it's kind of inviting people.
Jeff, that's where they put their piles of poop.
All right. So they take their dogs swimming from there, right there.
No, you need one there, one at the
Okay.
dike and one at the place where they've been chopping the poop bags off.
Okay, so that was that. So you, Scott. Well, let's vote on this, and Scott, you work with Eric as to placement, if that's acceptable. So, any further discussion? Any other questions about waste containers and signage?
I think if you are gonna do that, you should go forward with and it would not be a minor ordinance because it's a fine, so that by definition can't be a minor ordinance. You ought to propose that as an actual fine ordinance and make it a stiff enough fine that it hurts.
What do
Okay.
you suggest?
At least 500, 1,000 would be preferable.
Eric wants people with dogs to feel the pain. Okay, so what we'll do after, listen, I'm okay with you. After we vote on this, we will talk to Attorney O'Brien about how to execute that and get that done. We can do that now with the current situation with a hearing officer. So let's.
Jeff, I'm here.
How are you, Dennis?
I'm fine, Jeff, despite the collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, it was a total collapse.
Total collapse, all-time great collapse. Anyway, I think the limit on a fine like that would be $250, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I would recommend, I agree with Eric, it should be more than 100.
Okay, so Dennis, you know what we as a board, because we haven't even voted on this yet, but you know
Right.
what we as a board would like to do, so we'll get that done after the fact. And we have to have a town meeting, I believe, at some point in time on some other issues, so we can accumulate all of the ordinances that we'd like to see happen. But what we need done is the hearing officer to get his feet under him on the blight side, and then we can sit there and put other things on it.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's coming up next on the agenda there.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor, Eric? Yes.
I just want to say I will be back in 1 minute. I have to go let somebody into the town hall. Back in a second.
So Eric is leaving us, but we're going to vote on the motion that's in front of us on the waste containers and the signage. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. 5-0 on that. Okay. So now we're moving on when Eric returns to 8E, a discussion on of blight and level of involvement. Dennis, why don't you express to the board where we are currently with the hearing officer? So we'll talk.
Yeah, I'm very encouraged. Mark Risley is the hearing officer, and I've been working with him through emails and texts and phone calls, and we've met once, and I've been training him, and I think he's all ready to go. He's very enthusiastic about doing it. It's a tough job, but I think he's just the right person. I'm really pleased with him, and we are planning on having our first hearing on a blight case on the 13th of February. So I'm very, very enthused about it, and I think it's really not easy sometimes to get somebody to agree to do that, and he seems to be smart enough, strong enough, tough enough, and I really enjoy working with Mark.
Okay. That's very positive. Thank you very much for getting that executed, because it allows us to sit there and move in a different direction related to ordinances and fines, to sit there and see if they'll.
Yeah, one of the things that Eric and I have talked about is me going through the the ordinances that we have now, and looking at them and seeing which ones that we all think, and of course you all think, because you'd have to okay it, would be a good ordinances to add fines to, so that they could be enforced by this system of having a hearing officer. And I don't want to go crazy with it. You know, we're just getting this up and running. But in any event, I definitely want. I've already drafted an ordinance that would allow us to do fines on zoning cases instead of having to sue somebody in Superior Court in order to get them to comply with the zoning regulations. So, got to bring that before the zoning commission. It's not necessary actually that they approve it, but I wouldn't go forward with it without their approval as a matter of courtesy. And that's what we did in Chaplin, and we especially in Mansfield. Mansfield, I have a long history of doing that in Mansfield very successfully. It's a great way to save time, and it's a great way to not so much to make money, but to to get compliance with town regulations and rules.
All right. Eric, do you have any input on the discussion of blight and level of involvement?
Nothing specific. I do agree that we need to keep doing blight enforcement, but being reasonable about it. I think as long as we keep going after just the worst offenders, that's a reasonable use of the statute. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Which problem is it that Dennis is going after on February 13th?
Which case?
Yeah, what case? Yeah.
664 Route 6.
Okay.
I don't want to discuss the case, frankly, in open session to any extent, because it will be subject to a hearing, and I don't think it's the kind of thing that if you wanted to discuss the case, we'd have to go into executive session.
No,
it's fine.
We don't need to discuss the case, but all right. What I would ask you, Eric, is next meeting, can you have the updated form on the blight cases in the package? I know you didn't have anything in your written for your administrator's report, but if you could include that, that's always helpful for the other members and for myself to understand where we're at.
Yeah, I had meant to get one from Jim Hallisey, but he is sunning himself in the Bahamas at the moment.
Good for him. Okay, no problem. Next meeting. All right. 8F Hendy Road, Buddhist Road impacts. Anything specific or just what we talked about last meeting?
Yeah, Paula asked that this be put back on the agenda, so I did.
Last meeting, we were talking about, I guess there was a concern with a culvert or something over there, so I didn't know if we had an update on that or wanted to continue to discuss some stuff about this. So I put it on there to just continue the discussion because I don't think we came to a conclusion last month.
I don't think we came to a conclusion, but we did talk about the parking along that along the road that is back there. That's
right. We were concerned about the parking and the weight on the road. So I don't know how. I don't think that we left off with. I don't think we came to a conclusion on how we were going to handle that. So I felt like we had to continue the conversation.
We didn't. We did not. We talked about the condition of the culvert. We talked about the culvert collapsing if there's too much traffic on that road, and then shutting that road down and putting the entrance to that road from two sides, not one side. So we talked about a lot of stuff. I just don't think, Paula, we can, unless we want to go to them and put unless you want to work with Eric to get the access on the other side of that and close the whole road where the culvert is, what are we going to do? I don't think we can do anything. What can we?
No. Eric, is there any zoning violations with them having those meetings there? And the parking and associated people there?
Oh, I'm sure there's a number of violations there, and they've never come back through and gotten a permit for using that for, religious purposes, which is, what they're obviously doing for it. I have told Jim that's one of the things he's got to do is he's got to rattle their chain and let them know that they've got to fill the permits because they've already applied, essentially for nonprofit status as a religious organization, but they've never done the zoning end of that piece.
So is
Now,
there,
it's a use as of right, so they will get it. It's not a question of that, but they do have a bunch of things they have to satisfy for that.
okay, so
One of them is
Jim-
parking.
Jim knows that he's to tackle this?
Yes, he's well aware of that. But I mean, it's just a question of priorities and what you want done first.
Yeah, I think the issue over the whole time has just been, they've been putting these permits and applications in a week before their events. And maybe it's just time we do send them a letter saying they're out of compliance. Please fill out your special permit applications on a timely manner, according to the town recommendations or the rules that we have. And if they don't, we'll have to start doing some parking enforcement or no parking signs like we did on Shoddy Mill.
Or if they are a church, do they need to have just because they're having a meeting every other week, do they have to fill out a permit every other week? Or if they're a church, can they just congregate? I'm not sure.
If they're parking in a town roadway and causing issues, then that would require some sort of permit. But again, I've told them point blank that they need to put their permits in on time, and they put them in when they damn well get around to doing it.
Okay, so this is another issue that we have to address with our new opportunity to we want to send out the letter, but we also want to be able to find someone like this so that there's some teeth in what we're doing and we're not just here talking about this stuff meeting to meeting. So
put a $1,000 per car fine ordinance, on town roadways.
okay.
If that's how you want to.
We'll do the Eric Anderson max out the fine, but let's work with our attorney on that one to sit there and see what we can get done.
Right.
So
I mean, Dennis and I have driven it and looked at it and talked about it, but I don't think we've really come to any conclusion. Other than you could put in a fine ordinance. You could put in a fine ordinance, for not pulling permits for events. And find the organizer for that if you want. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. But right now, other than telling them you've been bad, what am I gonna do? Tell them you've been bad again?
no, nothing. Dennis has been pushing us down the road to get fine ordinances in place, and I got a hearing officer, which is the first step. And then if we actually execute that and that's done correctly, then we can put fines in for a lot of the issues that we talk about on a regular basis that we've never done anything truly about because we had no teeth. So let's just get through this, Paula. It'll stay on the agenda until we figure out exactly what we want to do, and then we'll work with Attorney O'Brien on an ordinance that will affect that that location on I forgot what it is. I mean, it used to be called it was the Tavern. What was the name of the place, Scott? The White's Tavern?
Yeah, White's Tavern.
So the White's Tavern property.
And we should probably change the to Hutchinson Road, Eric, instead of
Hutchinson. Yeah. Hutchinson's Road. Yes, I knew it wasn't Hendy, so Hutchinson's. Okay. So Paul, if you don't have a problem with that, we'll just keep carrying that one over until we can actually get some teeth and bite someone.
Yeah.
Do we want to send them? Do we want to send a letter now to let them know they're out of compliance? Because we haven't officially told them, right?
Well, we
I've had
should.
that conversation with them.
Yeah, but we haven't done it in
They
writing.
need to get their permits in on time.
We haven't
Yeah.
formally done it in a letter.
Okay, but that's not, let's go through the right process. That's not from us, that's from the zoning enforcement officer who it's on his list. Right? So Eric it's on the list, get the zoning enforcement officer, write that letter, and then let's go through we'll keep going through the process, because I would assume the group of us realize that until we get an ordinance in place and actually have teeth, it's going to continue to happen. The only way we actually get any of this stuff to stop is to do the Anderson fine, which is a max fine, and get them to understand that we're serious, and rather than continue to rack up a potential bill that we have to worry about collecting, we work on a resolution that makes sense. They come and apply on the time, they don't park in the street, so on and so forth. So, okay.
Yeah, and that is, to be honest, that's one of my reasons for wanting a really big fine. Because the amount of effort we're gonna spend chasing these things down is not worth it if you're gonna find somebody 20 or 50 bucks. We're gonna spend more time with that, just chasing it down and getting paid. So if you're gonna do it, make it worthwhile.
No problem. I agree 100%. So when we get the opportunity to do it, we'll agree on the number and we'll go from there. So we'll get a number, and I will advocate for the Anderson fine, which is the maximum fine. Okay. All right. Any other discussions on that one? Okay. 8G, further discussions regarding, no, we already had that talk. Further discussions regarding pet waste and trash at the athletic fields. So that's on there twice. 8H, lot line agreement with the King property. So, I know, Jeff, I was seeing documentation back and forth with you. I guess I would ask one question. When I looked at these records, and it was page 32. Scott, is that the actual acreage, 32.97, which was the original acreage?
No, original was 17.9.
That's a huge difference.
Isn't it though?
Okay. All right. That's a huge difference. And I will tell you why I believe if that's the number, and it was supposed to be 17, if they wrote 17 in a document, or they wrote 55 acres in a document, back in the day, they knew what the hell they were given. So that's a big difference. The difference between 32.97 and 17.97 or whatever the number is.
And I told you, and I'm not going to get into this too deeply, but I went back through the original parcel that was turned into a subdivision. I went through everyone's lot, through all the town records, and I calculated it out, and including his lot, it comes in within a half acre of that 55 acres that he was originally had. Now, you know, and I called the surveyor today, and I asked him, did that lot line go north towards Burnett Brook Road? And he said yes. So, you know, as hard as it is for me to say, I believe that that lot that he is living on is the remaining portion of the 55 acres that was that parcel that that map was drawn about.
Okay, so now let's go past my question and Scott's question and go what and I mean, this is what my concern, my mental concern is, my mental concern is not Scott's mental concern, which is we're giving away acreage. My mental concern is we're going to cause ourselves another lot line problem by signing off on something, and somewhere else something's going to come around and we're going to get in another legal battle over some land. And maybe that's not the case. And if that's not the case, then we can talk about what value that extra 15 acres has or doesn't have. So is there anything here, Jeff, down on the property that is by the brook that concerns you? Because why doesn't it include the culvert?
Which page are you looking at?
Same page I was on before.
32?
32, yeah.
Well,
Jeff must be looking at the culvert that goes under the railroad track.
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
the culvert is actually, that is actually state property.
Yeah.
That's part of the right of way for the rail trail. So if you look at that lot line that follows the rail trail, that's the state right of way.
So that's the state right away.
So if you look at that line,
Okay, so I'm looking at the brook. So why aren't we dragging the line across the brook and down to the edge of the right side of the culvert, even if it's state property?
because he wanted to keep that piece of property when he's hunting over there, and we extended that lot up towards his property up Burnett Brook. Before, the original proposal was shorter. It was a shorter, smaller piece.
Yeah.
And so we the part of the discussion was to make the lot line the center of the brook.
Okay.
And so I asked Eric that question, that there's a line on there. It's called the closing line. And I
Yeah.
asked why that closing line was there and why it went over the brook. And then when the lot line is actually the center of the brook, and does that, with the center of the brook in there, does that whole lot equal 1 acre? Because if it's counting that closing line, then it's not. And Eric said that closing line is just Eric, maybe you can elaborate on that.
There's a nice wall on the other side of the brook there that you could use as a boundary line.
Yeah, we proposed that during the discussion.
Okay, well, okay, this is one of those that I'm gonna recommend that we communicate about this one, because unless the other three members, because I know where Scott's gonna go. That's a huge difference, 33.97 acres to 17. That's a huge number. I really I just want to make sure that whatever we sign, wherever we're at, we are all in agreement that we're getting the right value back for the community for what we're doing, which I get that the brook is a value and the parking area is a value. But we also need to verify that we're not making a mistake in signing this or setting a lot line agreement. And that's just my concern.
Well, Jeff, one thing to consider is we don't know if that original, what was it, 18 acres was actually accurate. We think it was more, and it was just always, that deed was filed with less acreage than it really was. And they were paying taxes on less acreage. So that was part of the argument too, is that.
Yeah, but I think that's what Scott was saying though, Jeff, is that
it can't be anything but what I said. I'm sorry, but
yeah. But what Scott did that I read was he went back through the original deed, which is 55 acres, which includes all of the housing developments up on
Burnett Brook.
Yeah, Burnett Brook. So who was the first selectman that lived over there? Ed Turn.
Ed Turn, yeah.
So Ed Turn's property and all of those properties were inclusive in that, correct, Scott?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So that's the issue. If that totals 55 acres and, well, I can't tell you right or wrong. And I can only tell you that now we're just in a situation of making a deal that's in the best interest of the community. I would ask for a month on this for me, because that is a huge difference. That's a huge number difference.
So Jeff, just for argument's sake, if you scroll up to page 31 of our packet.
Yeah.
If you look at the neighbor, I think their name is Cross.
Yeah.
That deed shows the King property is the abutter on the bottom side of that. It shows him owning the section, the southernmost part of that property, he's in a butter.
Okay,
And then if you look at where his barn is and the split rail fence, how it goes down towards the river. I mean, if you got a better way that you think that property should be, then I'm all ears, because I've reviewed this a lot and there's really no way to tell for sure. I mean, we filed that deed with that adjoining property owner with showing the King property as the abutter. So there's no way that line can be further north.
Oh, it could be. I
But
mean,
unless we
you know,
filed it wrong, or it's filed wrong,
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of houses built. I mean, you know, I can give you 2 barns in the town that I know of that were built off the homeowner's original property. Happens all the time. The question becomes, how do you actually resolve this? And I come back to what I said originally, which is if the board really can't decide how you want to proceed, then I guess don't, and then either the homeowner just files it how he thinks it should be, and you take him to court to dispute it if you want to do that, or you both take it to zoning court and fight it out in court if you want to.
My whole point here, Eric, is that I believe that I'm right. And all I'm saying is that why can't we split the difference?
So Scott has his way, and Eric, I don't think the members of this board are looking to not find an agreement.
I am. I concede the fact that the town is better off with that parking spot. But I just seems like it's a lot of land to be given away. That's not mine to give away.
Where was the original line then that the town thinks it was? Where did the town think the original line was? This only shows a new survey.
The original line is the line that's on the town's GIS.
Okay,
and that's the line that goes north.
Listen, there's a lot of inconsistencies in what's going on. I had asked Eric, and Eric knows. I asked Eric way before. I said, whatever we're giving up, I just wanted to know the acreage. And so, what is the acreage? And they're saying that is 32.97 acres. That's his stated property. Which, Scott, I go in and, I know from your discussions and your discussions with me, you said 17 point whatever. I knew it was 17 point something. It's being stated as 32. My concern is, and I'll state it again, somewhere we're making a mistake. There's a mistake here. And the question is, do we as a board have the authority to sit there and do this, which we probably do. But are we going to end up in another lawsuit with someone else? That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm after. I just want to make sure in my head I'm clear, because Scott, it's a question of having a discussion that if the property, I would ask for more of the brook. And to be really honest, if his number was supposed to be 17 acres and that's what he signed originally when he bought his property, then he should be more than willing to give us up more stuff, because we're turning over, like Scott says, 15 plus acres. So to me, it's a question of what we're getting is valuable to us. Yes. Should we get more? Yes. Because we're giving up probably town land for the most part. Eric, you would agree that if there's extra land in there, it's town land?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Oh, so now you're killing me, because this is what I fear, is it's not our land to give.
I would say that there is enough disagreement between all of the surveys that cover this property that I am not comfortable saying this is our land, this is their land. I think the only way you can solve this, I mean, if it were that clear, we wouldn't be arguing over this for the last 4 months, 5 months, 6 months.
Oh, okay. But now you're coming to where I would ask us to go. who are all of the abutting neighbors, and do we need lot line agreements with all of the abutting neighbors?
The only way to do that, Jeff, is to survey the property.
No,
If
I'm
that's
not
what you
asking-
want to do, then you got to survey the property.
I don't want to spend money, so please understand, I don't want to spend money, but if I mean, didn't this surveyor like outline all of the abutting properties? Isn't that what's on page 31?
But
He's-
those aren't all abutters of the town. I mean, the town really has, the Cotues, they're an abutter of the town.
On the total
That-
opposite side, right?
No, they're one point of the boundary line agreement we would be discussing is a line along their property also.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So Lee and Kate, okay.
Right, so that's one. The state is the other. But as far as I know, most of the state surveys for the rail trail, go back into the old the old railroad surveys. Those were from either 1917 or I think they did an update in 27. And when they put the trail in, they tore out all the monumentation for it anyway. So, I don't.
That line down there, there's no need to even talk about it, Eric. That line is specified in a million different documents.
Which
Everybody
line-
knows where the rail trail line is up against Kings or whoever.
The last time we had an
I know where they
interaction
are,
with
you
the
know where
rail
they
trail
are.
in the town, we spent a lot of money with Jerry Hardesty surveying a town rail trail interface
Yeah, down,
and ended up throwing up our arms. And Jerry said,
down,
I can't tell you within 15 feet where the line is.
right, down in that
Because
area,
there's no monumentation anymore.
not by Burnett Brook. That is clearly documented.
Oh, okay, so can we, I personally would rather get an agreement with him done. Can we, Scott, is it possible for
All I'm
us?
saying, Jeff, is just to make it a little bit more easy to give away somebody else's land. That's all. If you split the difference, how could you split the difference?
Well, see,
You know?
what you're doing to me is, and this is just me personally, I'm just sitting there thinking about that. A portion of this acreage that we're talking about might be the towns and a portion might not be.
Yeah,
That's
possibly. Yeah.
That's my fear. So what I'm driving at is if we took a big swath of this and went to these residents and so what Eric is saying, you have to survey it to sit there and see if it's the correct acreage that they signed on their deed. Okay. Well, what does the board want to do?
Don't you think it's odd that I went back and checked everybody's deeds, and it came out within a half an acre of what they said it is? Doesn't that throw up a red flag for you guys at all?
Well, it does for me. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. It does for me, but I let's just get an understanding of what we want to do. What do the other members of this board want to do related to this tonight?
I mean, the property owner, Scott brought me in to talk about this and I met with Mr. King and, I've walked the property line with Eric, I've walked it with Scott. And my personal opinion is that I agree with Eric. I mean, we don't know where that line is and we're going to have to come up with an agreement. And, you keep saying split the difference, but yeah, we've gone that route and it's not palatable to the abutting property owner. So do we want to tie this up in court? Sure, we could tie it up in court all day long. We might lose. We'll lose that piece of property across the street. I mean, it's up to you.
This goes, Jeff, what I'm after is, I would agree with you guys. I would agree with you, Jeff, that the property on the brook and the parking lot are more valuable than the interior wetlands of this property.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Me too.
What I'm driving at is are we making a mistake with some other resident that
No.
we're coming back and fighting?
I don't believe
No,
so.
there's no other residents that are
No,
involved.
we don't have a problem with that. It's just, we just have to come up with a boundary line between Mr. King and the town of Andover. And it's really not our decision. It's going to be up to the residents in town, whether they, at town meeting, whether they accept it or not.
No,
I mean,
understood.
our
We-
goal, my goal when Scott brought me in was to try to negotiate something that was equitable and we both agreed to that we could bring to a town meeting. And this is it. And I've pretty much done all I can. And if you want to meet with Mr. King and walk the property line and talk to him about it, you're more than welcome to. But I mean, I've been out there 2 or 3 times and spent a lot of time on this, you know,
Okay.
so.
Eric, since you've looked at all these, and just for one last thing for me, what does Mr. King's title or deed say the total amount of land he has is?
I don't know.
Has to be,
I
has to
mean,
be
which-
17.9.
Scott, I'm not asking you. I was asking Eric because I know.
No,
he did.
the 17.5 or 18 acres or whatever that is what is in the tax assessor's map. But I mean, the whole reason Mr. King surveyed the property in the first place is because I, as the town administrator, approached him and said, hey, we know our tax assessor maps for this whole area are screwed up. If you are going to buy your property and you are going to maintain a license, you know, an FFL license, you need to survey the property so we ensure, you know, we have an accurate database on it. So, I mean, the whole reason they're in this place in the first place is because we asked them, I personally asked them to survey it. Now, I really regret that right now. I'm sorry I opened that can of worms.
Okay,
Because
but
that's an
let's just go back to where I was originally in my head is if if I look at my deed for my property, it tells me I have 0.6 acres, 0.7 an acre. And Paula has a deed that on the deed and the documents that she has says she has so many acres. And Jeff, same thing. Well, we all do. That's all I'm asking. There's a document with it written in the document saying what the expected acreage is. And
Yeah,
that's
because those were surveyed lots at the time. Yours is a surveyed lot, and so is Paula's, and so is mine. And those are really surveyed. But some of these deeds in this town, my old house when I grew up in Cider Mill was, you know, walk along a stone wall to an oak tree and then turn, you know, north. I mean, they're very vague, and some of them are not surveyed to the level that our property is. So we got to keep that under consideration.
okay. All right. I would ask you to go one more meeting on this one because I just that number, because that's the only number I asked Eric about, which was the total acreage of the whole lot.
If Mr. King didn't go so far up the hill you can make up a lot of acreage across that line. So it's 1,000 or 1,400 foot line. You can make up a lot of acreage. If he didn't go so far up that hill, Jeff, kept that line down where I thought that you asked him to put it, you could make up a lot of acreage across that whole line. A lot of acreage.
But what I'm trying to tell you is he is not amendable to that. And so if we go on that route, it's dead in the water. We might as well go to court.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's where it's going to go. So it's up to this board to decide. You know, Jeff, if you want to try to talk to Mr. King before next month's meeting, you're more than welcome to. But like I said, I've met with him multiple times. I've met with Scott. I've walked the property. And like I said, there's no way we can determine 100% what is town and what is his property. And I think Eric agrees, right, Eric? I mean, we have so many conflicting surveys and so many property lines. I've looked at it quite a bit in depth, and I mean, I can't really say definitively whose property is whose. And that's why we need a lot line agreement.
Right. And I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, Jeff, but
Yeah, because you
why
can't,
is the lot
I mean,
why does the lot line have to be 180 feet up the hill? Why does it have to be up there? Why? If nobody knows where it is, why did they put it there? Because it's to his benefit. That's the only thing.
Well,
It's to his benefit.
Eric can probably answer this question, but our surveyor put the lot line close to the king line, correct? Because
Not there.
we had that combined, we had that overlaid map that you shared with me, and it had our surveyor's best guess of where the lot line was, and it was pretty consistent with Mr. King's survey, correct?
Well, that was the lot line. If you went back to the original post survey. The original post survey and the original town survey overlapped a lot. There was a lot of disputed territory in between those two, period.
Yeah, right. And like I said, Jeff, today I talked to him about that line that goes to Burnett Brook, the 300-foot line from the brook towards Burnett Brook. And he says that it is in there. It's written in our deed. It's written in another deed that that line is absolutely there. The one that goes north towards Burnett Brook.
Okay, so I would ask that we put this on for a vote for next meeting. And I would like to meet with Mr. King and sit there and see what's up, because I just don't believe if Scott is accurate, and I'm only talking about the accumulation of a total number of acres, these old timers, they stepped off what they thought they had, and they were really pretty accurate, you know. So
No,
you don't
not
think
really.
Oh, so Jeff, if you just look at sheet 31 really quick, and if you look
Yeah.
at the corner of the town property where it goes down, and like what Scott says, if we go down on that line closer to his property and we draw a line straight across, it's going to go right through the middle of his split rail fence. And that's a problem for the homeowner.
Yeah, it can't be like that. I agree
It
with you.
can't. So if we
I'm
take
not
this,
going to debate. I'm with you.
then we're gonna-
What I'm with you with, Jeff, is that this is a mess. And my hope is if we do this and we get it approved by the town residents, that we don't screw up one of the other lots and one of the other residents' properties.
I know, but if Scott is correct, then Mr. King's horse pen is on town property.
And Jeff, I came up with solutions for all those things. You know, you can move the line. I went down there, I found another wall down in the woods that you could run one line to that wall and then out to the other wall. And it would have kept all those things, all of his horse fences and everything. But, you know, nobody wants to listen.
All right.
And I know that Mr. King doesn't want to listen either. And in the end, you know, if we give away 18 acres and everybody agrees to it, you know, I'm going to agree also. I really am. I'll agree to get that parcel of land, but
I think Ann
I
wants
don't
to
feel
talk.
good about it.
I think Ann wants to talk.
On this plan, I printed it out, so I'm not looking at it on the computer, but it says on that, existing area 32.9 acres and new area 31.9 acres. So they're talking 31, 32 acres. Is that for this entire area that Mr. King owns? What is that referring to?
That's the land that he wants to own.
Okay, what's the difference between the new and the old?
31.97 is what he will retain, and he's giving the town an acre.
Yeah.
Out of
Okay.
what he believes he owns.
Right.
Okay. Now, what was the number the town thought that he owned, and what's the difference on that? Is that
18
what you're
acres.
saying? 18 acres?
Town
Out
says
of
he
the
owns
30.
18 acres.
So instead of having 32 acres, he really only owns about 20, less than 20. Is that right?
Well, that's what the town records say.
This is the dispute. The dispute is
Yeah.
the town
Seems like a
records, the
huge-
town records versus what he believes. And listen,
Yeah.
just so I understand this, and Eric, you understand this better. All of this is written word, stone wall going from one spot to another spot, marker in the dirt, a rod that's a pin that's marking this out. So it's all written somewhere, right? Might not be right, and it might be greater acreage, and it might be twisted, but listen, just put this off for 1 month, and then let's get this over with. Because we'll beat this into the ground, and it's either we're gonna go to court or we're gonna make a deal. So 1 month.
It
Anybody
looks
have
like
a
either we
problem?
gotta pay the money on a survey or we have to go with his.
Right?
Yeah, can we get, Dennis was there for the discussions with Mr. King. I would just like to get Dennis's input for just a couple minutes,
Sure.
his thoughts for the board while we're talking about it.
Yeah, I was there. I don't know enough about it in terms of, you know, who's right and who's wrong about this. I can tell you this, that I'm not an expert on real estate, but I have done a lot of real estate work over the years, and a lot of these old plots of land are all, you know, it's hard to tell. It's as Jeff says and as Eric says, it's really hard to know what's right. But I'd have to see all the documents, and I'm not a surveyor. I really don't know. So we don't have a survey of our own, right? Because if we go to court, now who's threatening to go to court? Is King threatening to sue us?
No, I don't think
No,
it's.
everybody just knows that this is, you know, if we don't come up with a lot line agreement, that will go to court.
But on who would bring it to court? Us?
No, not us.
Well, King would then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So King is basically, I didn't hear him say it at the meeting, but I thought he was very aggressive, and he seems to be saying that if we don't come to an agreement that suits him, that he's gonna bring us to court. And if we go to court, obviously we're gonna need to have a survey done. Okay, I have been involved in one of these cases before, kind of as co-counsel, not as the main counsel in the case, and I can tell you that it took a long time, and it cost a lot of money, and the attorneys made a lot of money, and the surveyors made money, and I don't think the judge, in the end, I don't think the judge absolutely knew that he was right about what he did. I just don't think so, and I think he was in the same situation we're in right now. So we haven't had a current survey done, correct, Eric?
Not current. I mean, we're working off a boundary description from, I think, the early 50s. So it's not that old, but it's not new either.
Well, it's old. I mean, it's not ancient, but so we're working off a description that I haven't seen it. Is it part of any packet that you have that you can send to me, or? Well, I can come down there and take a look at all that stuff with you if you'd like, Eric.
Well,
I would be happy to do that.
1 month.
But right now, I really don't have enough. I really don't have enough to go on, and you know, and based on what I heard at that meeting, frankly, in the 50 or so years I've been an attorney in situations like this, I have a tendency to want to make a deal if we can. That makes sense. And I understand where Scott's coming from. I also understand where Jeff and Eric are coming from, and you know, it may well be that acreage may not be the you know, the most important factor, depending on, you know, what we're getting in return. But the question then becomes, is what we are getting in return actually within the power of King to transfer to us, you know, and legally? Does he have the authority to do that? I don't know, but I'd be very happy to look into it, meet with Eric, and spend some time on it. But again, I'm not an expert at reading surveys and plans, and I would like to see the map, though, Eric, from the 50s that you are basing your view on, the town's view on, and apparently Scott is basing that's what you're basing your view on as well, right?
Look, there's no map, Dennis, that says that his line is where he wants to put it. There's no map that says that. That's
Yep.
just where he wants to put it.
Okay.
I get that.
So Dennis, I urge you to get with Scott and with Eric and with myself and with Jeff Murray and Paula and Ann, anybody. What I'm asking the board members, are we voting on this tonight? If not, let's move on and move this to next month.
I mean, it seems to me is that you're not in any position to make any vote on this thing. I mean, unless there's a willingness to, go forward without knowing, to a certain level of certainty that, what's right and what's not right, it's pretty hard to decide. And I certainly can't, I certainly couldn't do that. I'm interested in details.
Dennis, the Board of Selectmen, are we gonna vote on this tonight or no? Paula, yes, no, in 1 month?
I say no.
Oh,
I
I
mean-
personally don't see what a month's gonna add because, I mean, Dennis was in that room when we were all in the negotiation. And I don't think we're gonna get any more. So,
Okay.
I think we're kind of at a dead end now. And
Okay.
adding a month is not really gonna do anything, but if you want to do it,
Jeff McGuire, what do you think the steps to take in the next month would help for us to get further than where we are right now? I kind of agree with Jeff Murray. I think we talked in circles about this for a long time. I don't know what another month is gonna make a difference.
Well, I mean, Paula, from my standpoint, it's the first month that I've seen the total acreage. So this is the first document that anyone's ever come back to me and told me, here's the total acreage of what he's asking for. And so from my standpoint now, I finally have something in my hands and I'm going, well, does that make sense or not? Because I think the issue is not just Mr. King, the issue is the other butters. And I mean, if you ask me right now, I probably vote no right now because I don't have enough information. But I agree that in my mind that it's valuable to the community to get what Jeff Murray had negotiated. And we just have to understand the rest of it. And it would make me more comfortable if we waited a month, Paul.
Yeah.
yeah, and like
Right.
my discussions with Mr. King, if we move the property line down, that Burnett Brook parcel was off the table. So if we want to quote split the difference, like we're talking, that Burnett Brook parcel is off the table.
Okay, understood.
So, just so you understand that.
Jeff, are we sure that, and I'm fairly ignorant about this. Are we sure that, the property that he's offering to trade to us is something that he owns?
Yeah, I think that's something that's pretty confident that he owns that property.
You're confident in that? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, Scott, you're confident
it's a
too, right?
nice piece of property. It is something, that on the brook. I went out there with Eric and looked at it, and I was very much impressed with it. And you can't always go just by acreage. You all know that. I mean, some property is worth more than others. Obviously, if you're talking about wetlands, I don't know how much is wetlands of the 17 or 18.
Let's just not get into all of that right now because we're not negotiating with ourselves. We're not negotiating.
Yeah, that's right.
All I'm after is the first time that I've seen the total acreage, and I'm not prepared to vote yes today. That would be the issue. I do believe that we need to work with Mr. King to do right for him and to do right for the community and the town. And all of us need to understand we have to explain this at a town meeting to get it approved. Because you and I could talk about this, and if we don't have the Paula King marketing behind this wrapped up and buttoned up by the time we get to town meeting, we're going to lose. So I'm asking you for 1 month. So
Yeah. My thought is that if we bring this to the town meeting, people are going to want to see on a map where the town thinks the line is currently and where the line that Mr. King wants is. We just see right now on this paper where Mr. King wants it. The people are probably going to want to know where was the other line to be able to understand it a bit, or else they're not gonna vote for it.
Well, that's the problem we have, Ann, is that the documents are inaccurate. So what
Yeah,
we
they
have to
can't
do,
even-
what we have to do to the community
Some-
is express what we believe we're giving up and for what we're gaining. And that's all this is, but we have to be in agreement. If we are not in agreement as this board on this issue, it's not gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at if you get off tonight, if you look at the WebGIS mapping of this property, it shows the town property. We basically own his whole lot. I mean, that's how bad the lines are off. And his
Okay.
neighbor is down the street, probably 500 feet. I mean, it's completely screwed up.
Okay, and that's all understandable. We can express that to the community, and I look at it as a board. We've got to be all on the same page to sell this properly at the town meeting. It can get approved if we're all on the same page. If we're not, then it is not gonna win. So,
Right.
to me, what's our point? Our point is not to just make an agreement. Our agreement is to make an agreement that wins at the town meeting.
Well,
So,
maybe we need it in a month, I don't know.
so that's just my request, is 1 month. And if anybody wants to make a motion, let's make the motions. We can vote on it now if we want to.
Jeff, I sent you and the town's attorney, all the deeds, all the mapping. Feel free to peruse them at your heart's content.
You got it. Okay, I'm assuming if no one's making the motion, we're gonna move this to old business and put this on the agenda for next month as well. All right, let's move on to, well, 8I, Eric reviewed the stiff account and the interest earned. Andover, 8J, Andover Volunteer Fire Department tree removal. Did we agree to remove that tree?
No, you just
No.
punted it to this meeting and said you'd make a decision at this meeting.
Okay, are we gonna cut down the tree?
Did anybody talk to anybody directly at the firehouse?
I did not.
I mean, to be
I
honest with
did.
you, oh, go ahead, Scott.
They said that it's a mess and the leaves blow into the firehouse in the fall.
Well, I mean, I got trees all over my property and they just blow in. It's just, I mean, even if we cut that tree down, it doesn't mean it's gonna solve the leaf problem.
Right.
They blow
the
into my garage too. I'm constantly cleaning my
Yeah.
garage out.
I know, and I'm really hesitant to cut down a perfectly healthy tree.
It's a beautiful tree.
I know, and
Yeah.
for leaves that are gonna fall off, 2 or 3 weeks in the season, so. I mean, if we cut this tree down, they could still get leaves in there from all the other trees, blowing around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's gonna solve the problem.
Okay,
Take it off the agenda.
okay, so does anybody want to make a motion to cut it?
Nope.
I know you don't, and I know Jeff does it. And do you want to, or Paula, do you want to? And if we're not, that's fine. We can just move on and we're done.
I mean, it's funny, I looked up it on the map and it's aiming in pretty much the same direction as my garage is, and it's just the way the wind blows, the leaves get in the garage. And Ann probably knows too, the leaves just get into the garage from where we're facing.
Exactly.
It's just the wind direction.
Okay. All right. I'm good with moving on. So 8K, Eric, this is about the budget, priorities, current documents, determine budget schedule for February and early March. Obviously, we could discuss the priorities at our first meeting. And when you say current documents, Eric, what are you talking about?
I'm not gonna provide you anything right now. I should have put it in this packet, but I didn't, so it's too late. All I want to know is what your budget schedule is, when do you want to have meetings, and what do you want to discuss at your first meeting?
Okay, so the first meeting is discuss priorities. Okay,
Mhm.
so when do we want to meet? And what day would we like to meet?
Well, don't we usually, doesn't it make sense to work backwards? I feel like we've done this and that works best, right? So
What's the drop dead?
Yeah. What's
March
the
1st, as Eric said earlier, right, Eric?
Yep,
Okay.
March 1st? Is that what you said?
you need to approve a budget by February 29th.
Okay.
Can we just schedule Monday meetings other than our regularly scheduled board meeting in February?
The only exception is President's Day is on the 19th, which I don't know if that is an issue because it's a holiday and Eric might, not want to be on a call that night, but just bringing that up.
President's Day is not a town holiday.
Okay.
We gave that up for Juneteenth.
I remember that discussion.
Oh, although you know what, it is a state holiday, so you will run afoul of FOIA regs on
Well,
that
we
day.
can, let's skip that day then. So we're talking the 22nd, 29th, 5th, 26th. And if we have to put another one in there, the 20th, 21st, 22nd, or in that time frame, let's put it on later.
Well, you're not gonna have the budget on the 22nd. I said I'd give it to you on the 23rd.
Okay, so do you want to schedule, we'll
But if
schedule,
you wanted to schedule a meeting on the 22nd, I'd dump you everything I have up to that point and you can start cogitating on it. So, I mean, theoretically, we could do a meeting on the 22nd.
so a meeting on the 22nd for priorities and the first data information. And then meeting on the 29th to review the data and start building what we want to build out. And then the 5th, and then we have a meeting on the 12th. Well, we don't have a meeting on the 12th yet. Yes, we do. We have a meeting on the 12th because the calendar we have to set is for next fiscal year. Right, Eric? Am I incorrect? What is?
No, you've got to set the meeting schedule for this calendar year.
Okay,
So right now,
So there's
you don't have any calendar meeting scheduled for the next year. So everything right now is a special meeting until you set your calendar for next year, for
okay, so
this coming year.
we're going to do that today.
We're gonna do that.
Let's, February 12th would be our first meeting if we followed the same
Exactly.
Monday schedule. Right? So let's do a priority meeting on the 22nd, a budget meeting with the details Eric has provided us and a review on the 29th, a meeting on the 5th to continue that review, and a meeting on the 20th. We'll have to move one till Tuesday because you said, Paula, that's a
Right.
state holiday, right?
Yeah.
Unless, Eric, I would rather schedule it for the 19th because I like consistency, because if I have to plan on being away or not being away, I can make sure I'm here on Mondays. So
That's a Dennis FOI question. It's not I will be working that day.
I just left the room. What's up?
So
Dennis,
the question is the 20th, or correction, the 19th is President's Day. Per FOI rules, can we have a Board of Selectmen meeting on President's Day if it is not a town holiday?
Is it a state holiday?
Yes.
If it's on the list of state holidays, you're not supposed to have meetings on those days. The meeting, actually, if you have a regular meeting, well, this would be a special meeting, right?
Oh, regular. No, special.
No, special.
Special. Yeah.
Okay, if it was a regular meeting that fell on a holiday, it automatically flips over to the next day. But that's what it's supposed to be anyway. That's more honored in the breach than in the observance. But yeah, FOI, you're not supposed to meet on a state holiday. And the state holidays, I think Lincoln's birthday and President's Day are both state holidays.
Yes, they are.
Well, Lincoln's birthday we've already passed. Oh no, we haven't. February 12th.
you're telling me the 12th and the 19th are both state holidays?
I can look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure. I was going to look at these maps Eric sent me, but I'll look it up right now. I'm almost positive they are. I'm pretty sure Lincoln's birthday is still on the list. And, used to be when I was a kid, it was the 12th and the 22nd. But now it's the
Yeah, the
12th and
12th
whatever
and-
President's Day
The
falls on.
12th and the 19th are on the state. The 12th is Lincoln's birthday, the 19th is Washington's birthday, but which is celebrated as President's Day a lot.
Correct. So those are both state holidays, so you're not supposed to have a public meeting on those days.
Okay, so what would everybody like on those weeks? The Friday before or the Tuesday after?
Well, isn't there was,
No, 12th, you're right, Paula, the 12th, we're not having a meeting because
Yeah.
we have a regular board meeting.
Yeah.
So it's just the question of the 19th. We can't do it on the 19th.
Well, you can't have a regular board meeting on the 12th either, because that violates FOI also.
yeah, so that's
Correct,
good.
but what I was saying is we weren't going to have a meeting that week anyway, so we're gonna schedule that meeting for the 13th. Well, we'll attempt to schedule it for the 13th. So
Oh,
we're not having a budget meeting that week.
when is planning and zoning? Because Scott and Ann we gotta,
20th,
okay.
Tuesday, the 20th.
Okay,
So the 13th would work if we had to push that regular meeting, but the 20th is an issue for the budget meeting.
correct.
Mhm.
So if the 20th is acceptable, we'll just do the 20th.
Well, the
Two of us
20th,
won't- two of us
yeah.
have a conflict.
So the budget meetings, let me just give dates and then you guys pick the ones that are problems. Well, let's just go, let's verify the 22nd. Does anyone have a problem with the 22nd?
January, correct?
January, yeah. Okay, so that's a no. Does anyone have a problem with the 29th of January? So that's a no. February 5th, does anyone have a problem with that date? Okay, the week of the 12th to the 16th, we have a regularly scheduled board meeting, or we will have a board meeting, a regular meeting, special meeting, whatever it is, but we're gonna have a Board of Selectmen meeting, so we're not gonna have a budget meeting. The 19th is a state holiday, so does anyone have a problem with the 20th? You guys do, planning and zoning, okay.
Planning and zoning.
Okay, so now do you want to do the meeting on the 16th or the 21st?
Probably the 21st.
I would be late, but I can do the 21st.
All right, the 21st, and then the last meeting would be the 26th. Okay, so if nobody has any problems with those meetings, I'm just gonna make a motion that we have, that we schedule, Board of Selectmen budget meetings, January 22nd, January 29th, February 5th, February 21st, and February 26th, all to start at 7 p.m. and to last as close to an hour as possible.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor or any further discussion on this? Anything? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so put that aside. So we did the budget schedule. Eric, you're gonna get us the documentation at the first meeting on the 26th. And we're gonna discuss priorities at the meeting on the 26th. Okay,
Correct.
all right, let's go. 9, new business, discussed and act upon the following, vote on a meeting schedule for 2024. So let's go back to our calendars. So, we have a current schedule of the second Monday of the month. All right, so let's go through the actual days and determine if anybody has a problem or a desire to move it. So the first one, we've already passed. The second one would be February 12th. Anybody have a problem with that date?
That's a state holiday.
State holiday.
All right, the 13th.
I would be late for the 13th, but majority rules, so.
Do we have a planning and zoning meeting? No, right?
No, that only conflicts with the rec commission meeting, so that's fine.
Okay, so Paula, we'll accept you to be late and hopefully we can do a drive-by again and you can
Okay.
get seen in your car. All right, so the 12th, the next one would be March 11th. Anybody have a problem with that? Okay, April 8th. Anybody have a problem with that? Next one, May 13th. Anyone have a problem with that? June 10th. Anyone have a problem with that? Okay. July 8th. Well, I guess if we're still doing, do we want to have a meeting in July? Can we not have a meeting? Is it against any rules if we don't have a meeting?
Nope. You can skip every other month. You could not have a meeting the entire year if you want. What the
Just
hell?
keep in
You're the board.
mind, you skip a month, it's gonna make the following month longer possibly. I'm just saying, not to be that person, but just saying.
Okay, so does anyone want to schedule that for the 8th or do you want to move it to the 15th?
And
Is
are
it-
you
It's
saying
just
that
from a
because of
holiday,
July?
yeah, July.
And you're saying that because you're concerned of 4th of July weekend, or you're
July weekend and where everybody would travel. I would assume if people are gonna travel, they're gonna travel that first week through the 8th, you know. But we can do it on the 8th. I'm okay because we'll do it from wherever we're at.
Or we can skip it.
can we put it on the calendar and then as it gets closer, skip it? Or once we set it, we have to stick to it?
No,
We're 2 weeks late this month, Paula. Right?
we can
Not so
get,
bad.
No,
So-
I know, I'm
Meeting
just saying,
anytime you want.
okay. I'm just saying it's easier to put it on the calendar and remove it than to try and,
okay, then let's put it on the calendar for the 8th because then it just follows the same sequence. And if we need to change it, we'll change it.
I think that's safe to say, yeah. That's
Okay, so the next month is August, it's the 12th. Any problems with that? No problems. I'm assuming the next one is a state holiday as well. No, September 2nd is the first Monday. Okay, so September 9th. It's not a state holiday. Everybody okay with that? It's good. The next one would be October 14th.
That's gonna,
Columbus Day, so that you can't do.
And what happens if we do it on the 7th? Doesn't give the treasurer enough time. Okay, the 15th. Anybody got a problem with the 15th?
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning, of course. Okay, so we're moving to the 16th. So we're either the 16th or the 7th. What would everybody rather do?
I can do either day.
I can do it
I rather Mondays than the middle of the week, but that's just me.
I would vote for Monday as well. Yep.
All right, so then let's put October as the 7th. We'll do the first Monday.
Okay,
All right, so November, it would be November 11th.
that's Veterans Day, so that's a holiday.
And I'm sure if we move it to November 4th, is that the day before the election?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No,
No,
wait a minute. Yeah, that is, you're right. It is the day before the election.
Yeah, that's not great.
The election is always the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
Okay,
Mhm.
so
November
so I'm
12th.
assuming November 12th, you guys have a meeting?
I
Planning
think
and
planning
zoning?
and zoning is the 19th.
Okay, so then let's do the 12th. And then December is December 9th, which is a good day. Okay. So Eric, let's run through those again. So we decided to do in February, what did we come up with?
So we said February 13th, March 11th, April 8th, May 13th, July or June 10th, July 8th, August 12th, September 9th, October 7th, November 12th, and December 9th.
Okay. Anybody have any major problems, any other issues, anything that we want to discuss related to that? All right, then I make a motion that we submit the following meeting schedule to the town clerk for posting. I would rather not repeat the days. Eric, you will include those days in the motion. Okay,
Correct.
okay. And that will be our meeting calendar for 2024. Someone want to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, Paula King seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, let's move on.
The only question I have is budget meetings in person or virtual? What are we doing? Virtual?
Either way will work for me. I have no problem. I mean, if we meet in personal for that, might be easier to go through documentation that you have. But it doesn't matter. It's up to the board's discretion. You want to meet and do it in the community room or Eric's office, or do you want to do it virtually?
Well, whether we meet in person or not, we still have to offer a packet for the public. So if we meet in person, are we still offering it via Zoom? So just something to think about.
Well, we don't have to meet via Zoom. We can offer the packet at the online, right?
Mhm.
Under the calendar invite. Well, let's just do Zoom because it's what we're used to right now and it's easier. And
We've done budget meetings via Zoom and it seemed to work. So
okay.
Sure. Yep. That's fine by me. I have no problem with it.
So we voted on schedule 9B, discuss addition of stop sign at Shadblow, Dogwood, and Woodfern intersection.
Mhm.
No, we've talked about this. Why is this on here?
No.
No, we
I
haven't
just
talked about
requested
that.
be put
When
on.
did we talk about that?
For sharing all kinds of moments. From post-concert bliss.
That's Dennis.
And this is listening to WEEI or whatever it is in Willimantic.
yes.
How did this come to us, by the way?
What was that?
But the stop
How did
sign?
the stop sign proposal come to us?
Fine. I requested that.
Okay.
And I know some of the neighbors too had also requested this. Ever since the neighborhood was built, we have thought it's weird that when you come up Shadblow to the T, there is no stop sign. I used to give people directions, go up the hill to the stop sign, take a right. And I was like, there's no stop sign there. I said, why not? And there's only stop sign is on the Woodfern Way end, which is a straight through route. And it doesn't make sense to stop there. I would like to see a stop sign on Shadblow or a stop sign on both. I mean, either you can save money and move the stop sign from Woodfern to Shadblow, or you can put another stop sign there and you can put in all three streets. But I think it really is necessary on Shadblow. We've seen near misses of people almost hitting on that intersection. And it seemed to really make sense. So I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay, Jeff.
I think we have a diagram in our packet. trying to remember what page it's on. Not sure.
Okay, I didn't think I saw that, but anyway,
is
Jeff Murray, you live there. What's the issue with that intersection?
I've never really had one personally, but if you were gonna prove that intersection, I would probably move the sign from the Woodfern Way and put it on Chadwell. And then just have uninterrupted traffic going both ways on the straight. Because, I mean, to make that corner anyway, you have to go, you can't take that corner doing over 25 miles an hour, else you're gonna run in the neighbor's front yard or in the culvert. I mean, it's a sharp corner.
Page 88 of your packet, a fine drawing by yours truly, just for the record.
I mean, if you were gonna make a change, I wouldn't add a stop sign, I would just move it to the other road.
Yeah, that's what I would think too.
Why not get rid of all of them, make it a free-for-all?
Okay, so if we chose to do that, if you're moving the stop sign from one spot to the other, what does that take from us, Eric? We are the traffic authority. Do you have a problem
Of
with
the
that?
local traffic authority, I am your local traffic authority designee. I have duly taken all the training required to do that role, so you don't have to. So if you decide you want to move the stop sign from one road to the other, make that motion.
Is it problematic for you?
I don't care. I don't drive up that road.
I know, but I'm asking you.
I mean, if it wasn't such a disaster and such a hardship for everybody to change their driver's license, I would just get rid of Woodford Way altogether and just make Dogwood go all the way up. Because it's like you got two, it was the dumbest thing. I don't know whoever created that, but I mean, you got two houses with 15. I mean, I'm 15 and we're 4 houses apart. And it's just crazy. People go up to deliver all the time. They deliver to the wrong house. So it's just, you're never going to fix that, but.
I mean, in my head, I have that Shadblow and Dogwood is just the loop. And then you have a cul-de-sac off of that, which is Woodfern.
Yep.
So from my perspective, where it's signed, where the stop is now makes sense, but I don't live there.
Okay.
Because it doesn't feel like a loop. It feels like Shablo comes up and ends, and it's a T. And that's why it makes sense to have a stop sign on Shadblow and have the other two roads go straight through. Like Jeff said, it seems like that's a straight through. Dogwood and Woodfern should have been one street instead of 2 names even.
I mean, the reason I think the stop sign is where it is because it's a pedestrian crosswalk going across there. So that's why that stop sign is there in that location, because there's a little apron and you have to cross over the other side there to walk as a stop sign. And that's the only reason it's there. If you move the stop sign, you're going to impact that crosswalk because somebody could be walking across the road. You could be coming down and not stopping. And
of course, with that, you might say, well, then you need a stop sign on Dogwood because people come up that way and there's the crosswalk. It's right in the corner.
Neighbors probably all get pissed off and steal the sign anyway because they don't want to stop.
I mean, I almost have to come to a stop when I'm coming up Shadblow anyway because the corner's so tight. I mean, you can't go over there fast anyway. So
it makes sense to have the stop sign there. I find you have to really think to slow down because of that stop sign, or it's on Woodfern. It doesn't make sense to have one there, but I come to a stop because it says stop, but it doesn't make sense, whereas Shablo does make sense.
Making Eric's point that it's a cul-de-sac, I get that point, that was added at the end. So,
Okay, so are we making a motion to put a stop sign there, or are we making a motion to remove the stop sign from where it currently is and put it in a new position? What are we doing? So, Anne, make a motion that you want addressed so that we can vote on it.
I guess I'd be bold and say I'll make the motion that we move the stop sign from Woodfern to Shadblow.
Okay, does anyone want to second that?
I'll second, but I wanna have a discussion about it.
Further- You got it. Seconded by Paula King. Yes, Paula.
I'm just trying to understand what the picture that I'm looking at. What's the I want to hear from Jeff and Ann. What would be the bad side of moving going forward with the motion? Is there any I want to hear like the pros and cons because I'm still trying to understand.
So Paula,
area.
if you look at the picture, Paula,
Yeah.
you see where the sidewalk is and it crosses the road?
Oh, the picture changed. Hang on.
Okay. It's on 88,
Bring it.
page 88.
Well, go ahead. Eric, put it up on the screen.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm back. I gotta go back to Zoom here.
Right. So Eric, that's where you want to put the one stop. That's where Ann is making a motion. Where is the current stop sign?
It's right where that cursor is. See
Can
the
you
light
my
line?
cursor? You see the
And-
stop bar right there, the stop bar right there, and the stop sign right there.
And that's Woodfern?
Yep.
Woodford.
Okay.
But Woodford and Dogwood are the same road.
Correct.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Are
All
they
right.
really? I mean, when you zoom out, it looks kind of like a Y to me.
It's the same road.
Okay, so Long Hill is on the left of where you don't see it on this photo, but
You don't
it's
see it.
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, Long Hill's down here somewhere.
I would say I do agree with Ann on this one.
Yep.
It's much better. Jeff Murray was right. That's one road. Just keep it the same. Put a stop sign. Just move it across the road. Makes more sense.
It makes sense. Okay. So now I understand where the other stop sign is. I did not understand where the other stop sign was. Okay. Any other discussion on this point?
And can you remind me what your motion was again? And now that I understand where the stop sign is, can you sorry, just repeat what you
My motion was to move the stop sign from Woodfern to Shadblow Corner.
Okay, which Shablo is the left is to the left.
Coming in.
Yeah.
This is Shadblow.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Can't imagine why somebody would have put the stop sign where they put it. You
I
know,
know. I didn't know why.
Well, because that's a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
You know, you got a stop sign coming out of a cul-de-sac onto, you know, another road.
yeah.
The real question is why they named that loop two different names. They could
Yeah,
have called it the road.
that escapes me. I don't know why they just didn't continue Dogwood all the way to the end. It's just
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Looks like it's one
Yeah.
road to me, and the other one's another road.
yep.
Okay. So do we have any further discussion on it?
Yeah, I'd like to amend Ann's motion to where that stop sign is. That's where the street signs are. So that's that post where that's going to be located. If you come up to that stop sign, it's off to the right, and you can never see which street is Dogwood and which one is Woodfern. If we're going to go and do this, I would put if you take Shadblow going straight up, and you come to a stop, and you look straight across, there would be a sign pointing Dogwood to the left and Woodfern to the right. The way
Yeah.
that sign, where the sign is now, is so far over to the right that you can't really see it.
Yeah, it's attached to the stop sign, right?
Okay,
It
so
needs to be moved.
we're making a motion to move the stop sign, but Jeff, you want Eric to sit there and put additional signage in there.
No,
to-
just take that, if we're gonna take the stop sign off that post, we should move the street signs probably 20 feet to the left.
Correct, straight in the middle of Shadwell.
So when
Straight
you
in the
come
middle
up
of the
Shadwell, you
intersection
can
between
see
where the roads change.
Woodfern's to the right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, Woodfern's to the right.
Yeah.
Lower right in our picture right now.
Because when you take the stop sign out, it's gonna look silly with the street signs there, just off to the side. They should be more towards the center of the road. As you come
Okay.
up Shadwell to the stop sign.
Okay, so Ann, do you want to make your amend your motion to move the stop sign and to adjust the positioning of the street signs?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm in my motion to move the stop sign to Shablo and to shift the street sign, I guess the street name signs over to the left so they're more visible.
Okay.
Is that appropriate?
Paul,
Okay, and so where do you want to put the new traffic signal ahead signs? Because if you're changing stop bars now, you need to have the new, you need to, for at least 6 months, you're gonna need to re-sign it so people know that that's coming. So you want one on each of the 3 roads?
I don't know.
say that again, Eric.
Doesn't really affect dog.
Whenever you
Maybe
put in a new traffic pattern or signal, you're supposed to put in another sign ahead indicating that there's a new traffic pattern ahead. So you're gonna need to put in at least 1 new traffic pattern signs. My question is, do you want 1, 2, or 3, and if so, where?
Coming up to the stop sign.
Coming up to the
I
stop
would think
sign.
just coming up. Yeah.
Okay,
So on Shablo, we put stop ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, you're the authority on this. Why are you
and-
asking us?
and you need that for 6 months, right?
because you are the decider. I'm not the decider. You're the
Well,
entity that makes the
Okay,
decision.
okay, we're deciding to change the stop sign. You're the person that is implementing the rules of us doing it, so you know there needs to be a sign that sits there and says the traffic pattern is changing.
Right.
You know where it needs to go. Okay, we'll tell you. It should go on Shablo, but if you overruled us, we should listen to you because you've taken all the training.
Right.
Right? If you overrule us, Eric, on that, it's fine. You just
No, I don't,
what you needed to
see, I
do.
don't get to rule. Because I took the training, you can make whatever decision you want.
But
just have-
you're our designee and we trust you. So our recommendation, the way I understand what you're saying is I would put it on Shablo. If you believe it should be put on Shablo, you put it there. If you don't believe it should be, you believe it should be put on Woodfern, put it on Woodfern.
Okay, that's fine.
Right?
Not a
Okay,
problem.
so did we all vote yes?
No.
I don't think we
Yeah,
voted.
call
We
it
haven't
out.
had a vote yet.
Okay, can we all vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. 5-0. Okay. All right, we're moving on. We're almost there. Contract with LNC Park Consultants.
We just make a motion. Get
Is this
past this.
related to the field feeding?
Rich Kalarka's consultants. Yeah.
Make a motion, Scott.
A motion to let Eric sign the contract for LNC Park.
I'll second.
Okay. And Scott, you're all good with all the services Rich has been providing?
Yeah.
Okay. Further discussion on the contract? Is this I have one question. Is this extra money or is this in our budget?
Well, it's mostly for next year, so. Well, no, I guess technically it fits in our current budget. It's,
I thought it was February, started in February. January 2024 and terminating December 2025. So it's going
Right.
to split the calendar year. So what I'm asking is we have the money for this fiscal year.
yes, we do.
Okay, and we're going to put in the money for the following fiscal year. Okay.
Right.
And anybody else have any other questions related to this? All right. If no further questions, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Okay. 9D, right? 9D, contracts for municipal complex upgrades, RFP update for the fire department. Eric?
So I put a whole bunch of stuff in your packet. I'll tell you where it starts.
It's earlier. Yeah, so go ahead. No, it's in there, right?
Yeah, so there's basically what we're trying to do is kind of annoying and it's kind of complex. And I'll walk you through it. so we did meet the other day as a commission, so the Board of Selectmen empowered a group to come back to the board with a recommendation relative to a couple of RFPs that the town put out. One was for updating the HVAC at the fire department. One was for updating the HVAC at the town hall. The fire department's relatively simple because it is a standalone project. The one at the town hall is more complex because we can't do all the HVAC upgrades without doing a whole bunch of electrical work at the same time, or doing a temporary panel, doing the HVAC upgrades and doing the major electrical work later. So my suggestion is that we authorize 4 things at once. The first is accept the RFP for the fire department HVAC upgrade, accept the RFP for the town hall HVAC upgrade. And I don't have an RFP, but I do have, 4 quotes for the propane installation of multiple propane tanks. The complex part of this is we also need to do a lot of piping between where the propane tanks are, where the new community center is, where the town hall is. And at the same time, we got to bury all the future conduit for doing the electrical, because we want to eventually be able to back up the town hall and the new community center. So what we're talking about doing is Public Works, do the excavation and build the pads for the concrete or for the propane tanks. We use Superior Propane as the contractor to put the tanks in and run the gas lines in conduit. And we use either Public Works or Lenco to do all the conduit runs from where the tanks are to both the new community center and the town hall. We either do Lenco or Public Works. If we do Public Works, Rick Langley will still work with Public Works to make sure they get the handholds, the in-ground holds, and the bends right and the conduit right that goes in the hole. So it will be cheaper, but it will be more work on the part of Public Works. The problem is that, this is what we're putting in the ground is at least 4/0 copper cable. So we got to get a big conduit and we got to get the bends right, because this is super heavy wiring and it's hard to pull this stuff through the ground. So, but that basically future proofs us. So when the community center is done, there's no more need for excavation as part of either project. And then, I'm planning on putting in a FEMA grant for a new generator to cover the town hall, the fire department, and town hall, fire department, community center. And then that does everything. Now, the only problem we run into is we got serious electrical problems in the town hall. And it's going to be expensive to fix. We can't do it unless we do the HVAC upgrades first, because the tank has to come out and a bunch of other stuff has to come out.
What are you asking for?
So I'm asking whether you'll consider approving both RFPs, the installation of the propane tanks, running of the conduit, and doing the electrical upgrades at the town hall in one shot, so we don't have to put in a temporary sub panel and do that part later. Here's the downside of it. So, as far as the RFPs, we've gone through our process. We've done a good job of that. So that's easy. Propane tank install, that corresponds to our purchasing policy because we've got multiple bids from basically all the local vendors. Putting in the conduit's not a problem because essentially we're doing that. If Public Works does it, we're basically doing it for the cost of materials. So it's expensive, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to buy the stuff from Target. we got a bid from electrical wholesaler and then Target, and Target's cheaper, so we'll go with them. The only real thing that I have not bid is the upgrades to the town hall electric. And that's gonna be around 50 grand. That's gonna be a lot of money. That really, per our policy, should go to RFP. However, the town hall is really a cluster. And because Lenco actually understands and has worked in this building a lot, I think we have a pretty good chance, 100% chance, if Lenco does it, that we get it done right. And I really hesitate to try to send this one out to RFP just because, it's interfacing with multiple other contractors. And getting this building right, to be honest, is going to be a pain. So I would prefer just to go with Lenco, but that would take an exception to our purchasing policy. And so that's one of the things I'd like to talk to you all about.
So your concern with the electrical and bidding it out is that you get a lower bid from somebody and they don't know the building and they don't do it the right way, and you're fighting them all the way along.
Yeah.
Right. And we're trying to make this work and do a lot of things at one time. Tie into some major HVAC upgrades, redo our main meter feed into the building, change out a stab lock panel that's no longer legal, and basically create a new pony wall in there to mount a lot of stuff and clean up our existing old IT wiring that's still in the building.
Okay.
So that's really my concern. And I get that I should be sending it to RFP, but I would be really concerned with getting bids and getting a contractor. I know if Lenco does it, it will go smoothly. I'm concerned that if we send that out to bid, it's going to be a lot more problematic. That's my concern.
Okay, so Lenco on page 82 provided us their estimate of the work.
Yep.
Okay. Jeff Murray, you're our our
Knew this is coming to me.
Hey, Jeff, what do you think?
Eric and Mark Williams and I met last week, discussed this, and I just had some concerns about scheduling this work. I mean, the electrical work's a year out because we're gonna have we got some transfer switches and some hardware that's long lead. So if anything we do at this meeting, we need to probably approve that hardware and at least get that hardware on order, because that's going to be our pacing item. And like talking to Eric, we want to avoid doing a temporary panel at all costs. Number one thing is what we should do is get the furnace switched over to propane first thing, and then get that tank out of there and all those pipes out of there. That'll give us room to put the new electrical panels in, and then all our HVAC will tie into those new panels, and then we would just do a master switch over at probably one point, and then move all the other feeders over into the new panel. Having Lenco do it, yeah, I agree to it, but I just worried about just violating our purchasing policy. And if we got bids that were probably close to Lenco, we could probably make a justification to have them do it. But just for the record, we should probably get some other bids just to be safe, just to prove that their price is appropriate. That's my only concern. It's just sole sourcing something like that of that size. I would just make sure that we had a couple competing bids, and I'm sure they're probably going to be close. And probably Lenco does have a bidding advantage because they know the job. So.
Hello.
Yes, Dennis.
What I want to say is that unless there's something in the purchasing policy that I don't know about or I don't anticipate, you don't have to take the lowest bid. You can take, you ask for the lowest, you accept the bid of the lowest responsible bidder. And in terms of responsible, if somebody has a track record of working on your property, knows the property well, and you're very confident that they'll do it, You can, I'm not telling you should, but you can accept a bid that is not the lowest bid. That I've actually been involved in a project in Ashford where I actually went and got some training on bidding law, and it just so happened that Ashford did not want to accept the lowest bid on a construction project, and so I went to after going to this training program, I looked at my training materials, and I saw what I thought I had heard at the sessions, that you do not have to accept the lowest bid. You have to accept a bid that's in the best interest of the citizens, and that's not, and price is not the only factor. So the interesting part about it is we were threatened with a lawsuit, and who was the lawyer that threatened us with a lawsuit? It was the guy that gave me the training, the guy that wrote the materials, and I just cited it back to him, and he just dropped out. So it is not necessary to accept the lowest bid. That is not the only factor in bidding, and you'll see that in most bid packages they will say that they reserve the right to accept a bid. There's all kinds of language you can put into your RFP that guarantees that you have discretion. The bidding law, there's cases that say the bidding laws are not there to protect bidders. The bidding laws are to help ensure that the citizens get the best deal under all of the circumstances, and all of the circumstances includes more than just price. Okay?
All right, thank you. Scott, Eric, what would it require from you to put that piece of it out for RFP?
4 months. I mean, I'm not doing it during budget season, that's for sure. So what I would suggest is that we just, in that case, just approve everything but that. And we'll put in a temporary electrical panel in the short term until we can do the major electrical upgrade.
I thought you had to do all of the other work and pull all the tanks.
But Eric, that's not, even if it takes us 4 months, we're not gonna be able to do it anyways, because that 400 amp transfer switch is gonna take a year anyway. So if we get that on order, we've got plenty of time to get the contract in for the electrical work.
The transfer switch is not 4 months out. The only thing that's really
No, it was 12. You told me the other day that was 12 months out, that one switch.
No, that's not 12 months out. The 200 amp one for the community center is 12 months out.
Okay.
They can get the 400 amp ones. The one that's really far out is the replacement meter socket, because the building official is going to require us to meet current code, because we got to replace the connectors to it because they're so badly corroded. So
okay, that was the discussion.
That is a long way out.
But we still have to switch that out for the town hall, correct?
Yeah, eventually. But what would happen is if you were doing the whole thing now, he would set the panels up the way they should be set up, and just keep the permit open, because you can keep the permit open for a year or two, and then eventually when you get the and put the ATS in when you get that, and then do the meter socket when you get that. But it sounds like if you want to go to RFP, and I'm not arguing against that, because I agree in many ways that's probably the correct way to do it, but it's going to take me a shitload of time to write up an RFP that's comprehensive, that explains exactly what we're doing, and do it without stealing all of Lenco's work.
Okay,
right?
so
can we do it like we did?
Wait. So it'll take you a long amount of time, or a significant amount of time?
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to do now in budget season, that's for sure.
Okay, I'm just worried about my time, my language thing. A long time. It's going to take me a long time. Okay, now Jeff Murray, ask your question. And
Well, the question was, we're doing this with propane, right? You didn't have an RFP for that. You basically just kind of said, I need a couple tanks and lines, correct?
He got quotes.
He got quotes.
in our package.
So I get,
So why couldn't we walk through just a couple electrical contractors and just get some budgetary quotes? And just to make sure the link goes in line with with the competition. I just want to make sure we have a sanity check to make sure that their number's good. And if their number's good, then I'm fine with it.
Well, not only
and
that,
I'm fine with that. I'm just saying that is going to delay everything else, and that's okay. And the alternative is really just doing a temporary service to feed the HVAC upgrades so we get that actually going. Because remember, that RFP is almost a year old already. And it's already been re-quoted twice because time has gone by and we've changed what we wanted. So I don't want to stall that any farther and at least get that portion going.
Yeah, but what I'm
That's
saying
all.
is we didn't do an RFP for the propane, correct?
No, we didn't, because I figured that was gonna be under, the tanks themselves would be under $15,000, which
Mhm.
they are. So
Okay.
I've got three competing bids, which meets our policy. So there is no exception
Okay.
required for that. As far as the conduit, I mean, that's basically just a materials cost. So I just don't see a need to go to RFP if we're just talking about materials. So to me, the only thing there where it's questionable with our policy is the electrical work. And I think that legitimately, either you and the Board of Finance both have to agree to an exception to our policy, or you don't, and it goes to RFP when we get around.
And
Right?
why, and Eric, I'm just asking this, why can't we find another local electrical contractor to get a quote, a similar quote to what Lenco is giving us,
Yeah, because they don't have a statement.
just to have the piece of paper? All we're trying to do is not violate our own purchasing policy so significantly. We're asking you for your help. I
But you're
understand
still,
what you
you're,
want. Understand
no,
what you
no, what I'm saying is that if that's what you want to do, and I'm fine with that, then we commit to doing an RFP for that. And I don't have a problem with that, because that's what our policy, and if I go out and get 3 quotes, we're still violating our purchasing policy. So what's the difference? So
Well,
we send it to
we're
RFP.
violating our purchasing policy on a vendor who's done multiple other things for us over the years and has proven to be a friend of the town. And I'm not saying that lightly, and it's not like
Correct.
we're getting something for it, but we're just trying to cover ourselves from any criticism that residents and maybe other boards would give us for violating our own policy.
Right, I get that.
It'd be easier to sell to the Board of Finance if we had a baseline from another contractor.
Eric, is the purchasing policy on the town website?
I don't know. You reviewed it. I can
I
send you
reviewed it
another.
a long time ago. I'm just trying to find it now.
Okay, well,
And
Eric, what's
I
your
would-
timeline
For what?
to get, if we want to do this all together to make it as efficient and the best possible outcome, the quickest, best possible outcome that the town can get, when do we need to have an answer for you on Lenco? And today, tomorrow, 5 days from now, next meeting? What's your timeline? When are you gonna start all this work? What's the timeline?
Well, Public Works is already digging for the propane tank, so that's already going on. As far as the conduit goes, the only decision you gotta make is whether you want to sub that out to Lenco, or you want Public Works to do it. I'm assuming you're gonna want Public Works to do it because that will be cheaper. It will tie up more of their time, but it will be cheaper. So
And when you say it'll tie up more of their time, what are you taking them away from if they do that? Just
road
regular
work, other
vacations?
projects, the parking lot.
how many people are we talking about? The whole crew is gonna be digging the conduit?
That's a Jay question. I mean, there's like 4,000 feet of conduit going in. There's an awful lot of pipes and an awful lot of bending, you know, and we're gonna end up putting in a couple pull points. It's a fairly annoying project. It's a
Okay,
lot
so
of
then,
work.
so then you're probably right. We're gonna ask you to have Public Works do it, and then we're gonna worry about what we're not getting done because they're doing the conduit for a long-term project. So, okay, we have them do it. And Lenco supervises. The question comes down to me is what's the timing? Like if we give you the authority, we're probably not gonna give you the authority just to go with Lenco without some other documentation. Because
Okay,
probably
so
how I
that's
read the
easy.
board, but I don't want you to, you do it, you don't, okay, you need to start working with us to sit there and make this happen the way you want it to happen, rather than throw your arms up and sit there and say, then we're just gonna put up a temporary panel. That's not
Well,
what we
but
get.
that is the correct solution, Jeff. Because
No,
we are
that
not
is
going,
that is the technically correct solution, but might not give the town the best, quickest outcome,
okay,
right?
so
So if
you
I want
wanna,
to sit there and do the best, quickest possible outcome, which I think everybody else was talking about here, is
Right.
just get 2 more quotes from an electrical contractor, any electrical contractor, to sit there and allow us
well,
to
what?
sit there and say Lenco is extremely reasonable, which we already know he's going to be. It's just, we're just trying to be able to go to the Board of Finance with something tangible.
Okay,
So I have a quick question, like what defines an emergency in town? If something, let's just say the boiler breaks or something expensive breaks that we have to get an emergency repair. Because I would consider switching this panel out an emergency and getting that oil tank out of there emergency, because that oil tank is it's an illegal installation. The panel is a fire hazard. The work needs to happen. So, I mean, I wouldn't wait. I would try to get that changed as quick as possible.
Creativity. I love creativity. Excellent work, Jeff Murray.
Well, I'm just posing a question, because I mean, if
Act
we
of
have a
God.
major failure of a piece of equipment, we're not going to spend 4
God.
months trying to put an RFP out for a replacement.
Right.
And it is a problem. That panel needs to be replaced. It is a fire hazard.
but it's not a true emergency. I mean, it probably won't burn down.
I bet you
Probably not.
I bet you get 3 members of this board that'd say it's an emergency.
Yeah.
If you let us.
Especially since you have oil tank lines going right over electrical panels. You know,
That are completely illegal.
yeah, it's an illegal installation.
And listen, and
It's a
I don't
fire
think
hazard.
there's anyone here that knows of what Lenco has done for the community that
For free.
willing to sit there and do that quote or approve that quote for you. What we're just trying to do is figure a way so that we're reasonably in compliant with what needs to happen. And again, no one here works for Lenco, right?
Right.
Does anybody work for
Right.
Lenco? Nobody works
Oh.
for Lenco.
But what I'm saying is, if you want a reasonable apples to apples comparison, so you know what you're going to get and you're asking for, you're gonna have to sit down and spend a couple days writing out exactly what you want for specifications. You know, and telling them exactly itemize everything you want done. And that's basically an RFP.
Okay,
You
then
can't
it's
just go to an electrician
then
and say,
I'll make
make the building work.
I'll make a motion that we approve Lenco's quote to do the emergency repair required for the electrical work related to the HVAC and the town hall offices.
Second that.
Okay.
2 seconds.
Anybody want to have any further discussion on the issue?
Putting in a temporary panel is going to probably add about 10 grand to the cost. So even if you got another contractor coming at 40 grand, it's just not even going to be, it's not even for discussion, because it's going to cost you more in the long run to
Okay.
do a temporary panel, because you're doing it twice.
All right, I'm sold. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so for the record, I will go to Board of Finance with this. Because it does technically take both your agreement and Board of Finance's agreement to modify the purchasing policy.
That's fine. Please do that with them and tell them, we consider it to be an emergency repair that will benefit the town in the long term. Okay, we're now moving on to item 10, approval of minute meetings for the December 9th special meeting and the December 11th regular meeting, meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the December 9th, 2023 special meeting and the December 11th regular meeting, 2023.
Should we do those separate since we weren't all there?
Oh,
So
good
we should
point.
probably do them separately.
Okay, I will amend that. I make a motion to approve the December 9th, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Seconded.
I gotta ask a question. Who wasn't there?
You weren't there and Scott wasn't there.
That's right. Eric, Scott and I walked the property after.
Yep,
Okay, so now I'm trying in my head to figure out which one was the special meeting. So, okay, so you seconded, right, Jeff Murray?
Yep.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
No, you can't approve it, Scott. You weren't there.
I know. He waited, he put it down.
Okay.
So it's 3, all those opposed? All those abstaining? There you go. Scott.
There we go. Now we're legal.
So it's 302, 302.
Yeah, for the record, while most people do, you do not have to abstain because you were not at a meeting.
Well, I abstained because I'm at this meeting,
Hey, Paula.
right? If I gotta vote, it's either I'm gonna reject it or I'm gonna abstain. I can't vote in favor because I wasn't there and I don't know what you spoke about.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay.
You can't
We're
approve
on.
the minutes because you
Let's
weren't
go.
there.
Next, so Paula, make a motion for the December 11th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the December 11th, 2023 regular meeting.
Seconded.
All right, further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's move on to item 11, the tax collector's report. Do we have any, so it doesn't look like we're having any problems there. Do we have any refunds to offer back? Doesn't look like it, do we?
No, the previous month you did approve one, which is still sitting on my desk waiting your signature, but I don't think there are any more.
All right, then I'll be in tomorrow to sign that.
Okay.
And if I'm not there, then I'll be there Monday, unless it's a state holiday. Is it a state holiday? No, okay.
Probably. Pretty
Right.
much every Monday is, right?
All right, department reports listed here. Any questions on any of the reports from any of the individuals? Okay. Okay. Item 13, correspondence. No correspondence. Okay, we'll move on to item 14, public speak. Diane Grenier, you are remaining from the public standpoint.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just wanted to comment on a couple of things that you spoke about. One was the community voice channel. Yeah, I'm saddened to hear that they're losing funding, and I would like to support them, and I hope that you do as well. I applaud the work of Elaine Boucart and all the filming she does, and the training that they provide. It's very important. I've taken the training, and I'm surprised at how many people watch that station, the Community Voice Channel. Santa and I did an event there, and many people in the community have spoken to me about they've seen that on TV. So people watch that station, and I think it's a great community service, and I applaud them and thank them for doing that. I think they do a good job. The other one is the community garden. I hope you guys can find the funding that they need for their fencing and such. Again, I think they do a good job. It's a good group there. They've done a lot of work over there. I think the community garden and what they do is something that all Andover residents can be proud of. And I hope you can find the funding that they need. That would be a wonderful thing. And finally, I'd like to applaud this Board of Selectmen. I think you guys do a good job. I'm always amazed and impressed by the number of items that you have to take up and the things that you're juggling. Eric in particularly, I don't know where you find the time to handle all the things that you do, but I'm very, very impressed with all the different things that you do. And thank you very much. I think all the residents find what you're doing very good work. Good work. So thank you.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you, Diane. Joanne Ebert.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I do definitely want to make a comment. I know it was a long meeting. I think I'm gonna, I do have something important that I want to say, and I want to be intentional about it and, get my thoughts out correct, because I don't want to be critical in any way. And I feel like if I'm going to say something like that, I'm definitely going to face the camera. So it's not critical about anything that you guys, sorry about this crazy computer, but I just have a little bit of concerns about the whole LoSiP situation in general. I understand grants, and I'm always in favor of anything that will benefit the town going, everyone does a good job in trying to solicit grants and bring things into the town. But if this meeting taught me anything tonight, it's the amount of time that people are stretched. And definitely Diane just gave compliments to Eric and all that he tries to get accomplished. And obviously all of you follow through on all the meetings, as I do myself, and make sure that I listen. But this whole LoSiP thing with the connectivity grant and everything going through the middle of the town, I just think it's a huge undertaking. I'd like to know a lot more information about it. I started listening to all of your meetings and have been trying to follow it. And I know that there was a rush to get it done, and I'm not opposed to it at all. I just think it's probably going to take a lot of time. It's going to affect, I'm saddened to hear that it's going to affect 6 homeowners that have to make decisions about their property. It's, and I will take the time and not take up a lot of your valuable time tonight, but in speaking to other residents too, I'm not hearing the drive for the town to be more trails and let's get the trails connected. And I think it is a wonderful thing, but right now we've got the community center, we've got the playground, we've got the garage thing that's going on. And I mean, that's just from my memory after a long night of listening and trying to, so I just want to project to you that I know that there was a rush to get this done. And from listening, I learned that when the deadline was, that Eric wanted to get this done by, and I'm sure it's taken a huge amount of his time to prepare the grant and to get the input from the DOT and everybody else that it's going to affect in town. And such a big, and I think the negative that Eric had pointed out a couple meetings ago was that if we don't get it this time, we can't go for a year and a half. I think about a year and a half might be the amount of time people will have available to devote the amount of huge attention that's needed to a project of this magnitude. So again, I applaud all the good work and all the time and dedication that all us volunteers, you volunteers, put into the town, but I'm not 100% on board with this without it going before the town and the town weighing into that this is something they wanted. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Joanne. Joanne. I don't think we have anybody else left on the line. So let's move to our final item on the agenda.
Before you do that, can I just ask one quick question? Are there any board members going to next Monday's Veterans Celebration?
What's the date on that one?
22nd at 4:00.
It's at the school?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I sent Susan email earlier saying I was going to try to make it. It just depends on my testing schedule at work. So If I get stuck there, I won't be able to make it, but if we get done early, I'm gonna try to go.
I am going to attempt to make that.
Okay,
Can I just interject a little something? I talked to Susan, there's 47 veterans that are gonna be honored on that day from Andover. So I think it would be appropriate to have somebody from the Board of Selectmen there. I mean, we have Susan Bisowitz coming to town. It would be good to see somebody from the Board of Selectmen.
Have we invited Representative Ware and Senator Rahman?
I believe they have both been invited. Senator Rahman, as far as I understand, is coming. I don't know about Steve Weir, but I do know he has been invited.
Okay. Yes, I will attempt to make that as well as Jeff and whoever else. I mean, we're all.
I'll try to be there also.
Yeah, it's just the time is difficult. If it was 6 o'clock, I could definitely go, but it's 4 o'clock's a tough one for me to try to get.
Okay, I'm not traveling until later in the week, so it's a good day. Okay, so I actually I dropped my phone off of that. So where are we at? We're at item 15, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. I beat you to
Motion to adjourn. Okay, Jeff Murray got that one. We'll give Jeff Murray the motion. Paul, are you going to second that?
I'll second that because he expertly gave the meeting minutes for the special meeting on December 9th. So good job.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of adjourning? Aye. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Dennis, thank you for all of your time, and Diane, thank you for staying on with us, being the last person standing.
Mhm.
So, all right, thank you, guys. We'll
Good
see
night.
you. Yep, good night.
Right.